It's not a problem. Okay, so we're... I get the thumbs up? All right, so we're going to call the meeting of the Board of Appeals to order for April the 10th, 7:33 p.m. Would you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I think we have a full membership here tonight. We're going to go slightly out of order because I don't think everybody's here. We'll get to the acceptance of minutes for February the 13th, if everyone has had a chance to review them.
Yeah.
Okay, Suzanne's here.
Make a motion to approve the minutes February 13th, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes will stand approved. Okay, so we're going to go back to item number 2, which is a request for executive session. This involves a matter with which I have recused from previously, so I will continue to do so. As it relates to this, I will pass the gavel to Madam Vice Chair, who will handle that going forward.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to change over to executive, I'll entertain a motion to change over.
Motion to move to executive session, Madam Chair.
All those, I have to do individually?
Excuse me, Madam Chair. You have to state the reason for going into executive session, which is to discuss the strategy of litigation.
To just,
Motion to move to executive session in order to discuss strategy with respect to litigation in the Lynn v. North Andover Zoning Board of Appeals, Madam Chair.
okay, anyone second that?
I'll second the motion.
And, a vote? I have to call it individually?
Oh, am I allowed to vote?
Yes, you are? I'm making everyone vote.
So, sure, yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, where are we going?
Thank you. We can go into the conference room 2, I think.
Okay. Okay, so we're actually back in session now, so I'm going to entertain a motion by Paul to go back into,
Motion to close executive session, Madam Chair.
I'll second the motion.
all those in favor. I'm going to do it as a roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Al? Al? Okay, so we're back in regular session, and I'm going to pass the gavel back to Al. You couldn't hear that? Ooh, okay.
What'd you say?
Go ahead, we're back in regular session, so.
Okay. Okay, so back in regular session, we will go to item number 4, which is the continued public hearing of Jeffco. They've requested a continuance until May the 8th, 2018. They signed a continuance form? Okay. Is there a motion on that?
I'll motion to continue 197 High Street to May 8th meeting.
I'll second it.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Stands continued. Number 5 on the agenda would be the continued public hearing, a petition of Michael Consoli for the property of 35 Meadowwood Road, map 25, parcel 24, North Andover, Mass, in the R6 zoning district. And Mr. Consoli is accompanied by Attorney Vaughn. Welcome. Okay, so I think it's been a couple of months, right, with the storms and so forth. You were supposed to be on the March meeting agenda, and then that got canceled due to the weather. I don't remember what happened on February. Were you here in February?
Continuance.
Yeah, continuance in February. Okay, so basically, you're just back from, picking up from the January meeting. Okay.
So Attorney Brian Vaughn from Smolak and Vaughn for Mike Consoli. I was not involved in the original filing of this matter. Mike got me involved after the initial hearing. He came in, he relayed to me all of your comments, and I reviewed the matter with him and suggested to him that, in fact, you know, he was requesting some relief here to convert from a one-family to a two-family. The board had identified some concerns with his design and suggested that he should perhaps seek to redesign it to do as best he could to make it fit with the character of the neighborhood to the extent that's even possible. I think you'll recall this house was pre-existing before much of the neighborhood around him was built. I think, at least as relayed to me, many of the comments were that Mike's house was perhaps ugly, didn't like it, and Mike didn't necessarily disagree, but I mean, it is his house, and in order to be able to put a whole new face on it would be too expensive of a project for what he was looking to do. But I think if you look at the new plans that he submitted, he really did take into account some of the comments on roof line, which were, I believe, made by perhaps Doug at the time, no longer on the board. And then the other thing he really tried to do was put a deck which wraps around the entire front of the house and tries to really tie the two sides together so that it didn't look like a second dwelling attached, but instead has the appearance of more so as best you could with what he's dealing with, making it kind of an appearance of a single house.
Was there variances requested, or was it just
No,
a
this is
special
just a
permit?
special permit. In the home, as the new home as it would be constructed would comply with all dimensional requirements for the zone. And in fact, it's only the conversion, I guess, under the bylaw. It's a special permit for conversion in the R6 zone of one or two family to less than 7 dwelling units.
Is there a new Mylar?
No, I don't think the footprint changed.
So what's the difference between what you submitted last time? This is the only thing I received new, as opposed to this one. What's the difference?
Right, that's the one that you gave me, like, the front porch.
Correct. So
So
that
you
was
just added front porch?
the front porch and the roof line. So the roof line was the design that Doug wanted. But
I don't-
that shouldn't be in the Mylar, though, I don't think.
I don't see any difference in the roof line, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm not, is it slight, or is it? Can you just go through the differences? I'm not seeing much. of-
So it's a hip
I'm
roof.
just- for
Yeah,
these
it's
pictures, it looks like
it's a
it's
hip
going-
roof instead. So I think the original design was just an A-frame, just like an A style. And this, my current house is a hip roof, so there's 4 sides instead of 2 sides on the roof. So this does the same thing.
Oh, in the back, okay, above the garage. That's huge. Sorry, I just don't see. Okay,
Yeah, it was-
I'm not seeing it.
okay, here is the
Yeah.
existing house. Here's the house now. And you can see the roof line, this little addition, you've got the porch around it.
And then you add that whole monster right there.
Right.
this is
Well,
the update.
Yeah, but he doesn't need a variance for that, okay? He's looking for a special permit for a two-family.
Correct.
Okay, the variance is a mood issue.
So we're all looking at the same update, right? This is the
Yeah,
updated one?
yeah, I'm looking at the one that says
I'm-
updated, right?
I'm actually not seeing, I think I asked 2 families in the area. Any
No.
other 2 families in the neighborhood? I know that I did because I wrote it down, so.
The one next to me was at one point. Mine, I believe, was at one point. But
So are there any 2 families in the neighborhood now?
no, when they created the neighborhood in 1993,
So when
There were
I,
no 2
when I
families.
have a hearing in front of me, I write down, and you know it, I write down the questions that I would like answered. So you're answering Doug's question, who's not here, change the hip roof. I specifically write questions, and I specifically say them at the meeting. So in order to keep, you're asking for a special permit, and one of my specific questions was, are there any other 2 families in the area?
right, there are not.
There are not, okay,
But I answered that night, I'm sorry. So that's not a change.
Yeah.
correct.
So I thought that was already answered.
It was not.
Okay. No, there are
So you'll
none
be
that
the
I know
only
of,
2 family in the area?
as far as I know.
Okay,
The house that abuts me, it was at one point.
but it's not.
I don't know if it is
You
now.
don't know now.
I
So you
don't believe it
can't,
is.
like, answer me 100% that there are or there are not.
Well, I haven't looked, and I can't answer definitively. The one thing I can say is that much of the neighborhood was a new neighborhood that was built around a couple of existing homes.
Right.
And all of those homes are in fact single-family, to our knowledge, as we believe. That new subdivision had a requirement which didn't apply to this because it wasn't part of that subdivision, that those homes were single-family.
Yeah, so as I recall, I don't want to go backwards from the last hearing, but just by way of history, that was a new zoning district that was put in, and then there was some aerial photos, I think, that were part of the record, unless I'm mistaken, because
That was 40B, wasn't it?
you abut other zoning districts. It's not like one particular single-family area. There is the
Correct.
multifamily,
There's Stop and Shop Industrial.
there's the industrial park, there's the
That side,
highway.
there's, correct, 125, 114. There's medical use, medical buildings.
So you're surrounded by various uses. You know, maybe-
Yeah, I
maybe
don't know what the zoning, I don't know if they're R6 or, I think they're,
I thought there was a
industrial, one of them is
previously
industrial.
submitted photo, just to, but maybe I'm mistaken. Just to kind of give you a picture of the surrounding uses.
So the size of the home's going to remain from existing 3,500 to 4,650, I think I have written down here. Is that going to stay the same?
correct.
Al, just to your point, I don't know if you care to see it, I did blow up a copy of the zoning map in this area, and his home is here. It's R3, general business, R5, B4, CDD1. and this is the R6 district here, so it is like,
You can submit it if you want.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want, we'll pass it around if you want to submit it. We'll just, right. Do you need it back?
no.
Today's date?
The 10th?
Go this way. So your square, that's what you're talking about as far
Correct,
as
that's,
the property?
that's his parcel.
And there's, in that whole brown area, there's no two families.
I can't say with certainty, I'm not
I
aware of
don't,
any.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
What does R6 allow, Brian?
So this is the interesting thing. I think this board, and at least I was actually surprised when I went and looked at this. We're all familiar with two-family conversions because we're all familiar with the R4 two-family conversion process, which is very specific and particular as to how many square feet you can have, what's, the various things. If you look at our zoning bylaw and you look at the dimensional uses, it's going to say, at least in the dimensional chart, that two-family is allowed by right. It's an indication of a Y as in yes, not a special permit with an asterisk as we have for the R4 zone. If you go into the language of the bylaw, it specifies in allowed uses single-family, then it specifies two-family, and then it specifies multifamily. A later provision in the bylaw, which is 16, which, it's, excuse me, the 4.12516, whatever it is, is the provision that Dawn cited in the denial requiring the special permit, says one or two families can be converted to up to 7-unit multifamilies with a special permit. So, in my opinion, as I read it, I think that two families are in fact allowed by right. There's a provision which says one or two families being converted to multifamily are then subject to the special permit. Had this been brought to me originally and I was making the original filing, I would have filed in the alternative to appeal the building inspector's decision, suggesting in fact that I believe it possibly is by right. As I read it in its totality, I think that that special permit applies if you're converting a one or a two family. Admittedly, it's not a very well-drafted bylaw, but if you look closely at the language, I think there's a strong argument that it's actually a by right use. But I wasn't planning to even discuss or argue that because the fact of the matter is we didn't request a determination. We have filed for a special permit. We're fine with the special permit if the board were willing to grant it because it gets us what we want and hopefully we get the board what it wants. It got a better design than what he originally came to the table with.
But that's the finding. Finding of the building inspector was special permit. And that's what's before us, right? That's what you're looking
Right. Well, what's before you is the request for a special permit
Yeah.
for a two-family.
The two-family. Are there any building documents, construction drawings, or any layouts, internal layouts, drawings?
I think they were part of the original.
Oh, yeah. They came in originally, right?
They should, yeah.
There weren't any updates to that?
No change to that. Layout's the same.
I think, Paul, the other interesting thing when you really delve into the bylaw is all the language. If you go to this section 4.122, which is the R4 two-family provision, there's clearly a lot more meat to that provision, which, again, limits the size and, it's a geometry quiz, as you know, trying to look at those. That doesn't apply here. So But the other thing, if you look at that section in Section 4 also is the one that talks about the distinction between additions versus conversions, and whether raising and rebuilding is in fact a conversion, and we know in that case it is by virtue of that provision. I don't know necessarily what the answer is, but I think you might look to that other provision to provide guidance on this section, but it's clearly something which is only applicable to R4, and presumably not R6 by virtue of the references and where it appears.
So I don't mean to interrupt you. Did these need to be updated at all based on any modifications that you made in terms of the roof line or the height? You know?
Did you submit the?
I have some that, I don't think it changes. It doesn't change any of the heights.
Was this plan submitted? This revised one?
I don't think this one, because the only change was the porch.
Yeah, they're definitely going to want to see that.
So, I have a plan with the porch that was not submitted with dimension.
Yeah, so I'm just asking if they're dimensionally consistent with the updated plan. Do we have anything with the updated dimensions?
You do not.
Okay. But do you have them? Do you have updated dimensions?
We have.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think the dimensions changed, though. So I didn't resubmit them because the dimensions, I don't believe, changed.
You changed the roof line and the dimensions don't change?
The length and width of it didn't.
The floor plan doesn't change?
But here's
The what?
The floor plan didn't change? Changing the roof line?
I'm not sure that I understand your question.
So you changed a roof line and added a porch, so this that's submitted did not change at all? Your floor plan did not change?
The floor plan did not change.
Okay.
Other than a porch isn't reflected.
Except for the porch, correct. But
Except for the porch. Okay.
so it was in that picture, so I didn't resubmit it as the other drawing.
So these floor plans are all the same, but they don't have.
They don't have it with the porch.
I'm just asking because it's important that everything tie together, you know, in terms of the Mylar, the conceptual, and then the layout. So we're just trying to make sure that, I'm just trying to make sure that the whole package is consistent.
I'll just ask a little bit, I guess it's kind of related to the floor plan. Most of the conversions that we see from one fam to two fam are, within the existing structure, or there's some marginal increase in the square footage of the living area. In this case, we're going from 3,500 square feet, big round numbers, 3,500 square feet to 4,650 square feet as far as the gross living area, which is not marginal. That's a roughly a 30% increase in the size of the living area. So I'm just wondering if we can explore what's behind that big an increase in the mass of the building.
That's what we designed. We wanted a two-bedroom, one full with a laundry room, half. I mean, it's an in-law apartment essentially. I know we're not calling it that, but I mean, that's...
Understood.
Yeah.
And it's best not to call that, frankly, because, in-law suites come with a whole new kettle of fish.
Right.
They're not allowed, though, in this district.
Yeah, incidentally, the in-law suites are not allowed in the R6 district either.
Well, this is a two-fam. They're calling it a two-fam, and I think we might have had this conversation back in January, which is, it's appreciated. It may not be allowed, so I get it. So it's an easy win on your side. But from here, it's oftentimes refreshing to hear an honest, take on it, which is we're asking for a two-fam rather than somebody who comes in saying we want an in-law, but the reality is they're making a two-fam out of it. So we're going from a 3,500 square foot current home, single-family home, into two 2,300-ish square foot, or is there a different allocation? How big is one of the units versus the other unit, I guess is perhaps my question. What's the GLA of unit 1 versus unit 2?
So
Is
the 3,500,
Yeah, so the existing is not changing, it's
Correct.
all the new space
Correct.
is just the new unit.
Okay.
So
Correct.
the, so in that regard, because there isn't space within the existing home that's being converted, the entire increment isn't, though in total, it may be much larger. It's, you're looking at a unit which is 1,200 square feet or so, or whatever it is. It's not all that large.
Got it. Adding a dwelling unit, and it's 1,100-ish, 1,200-ish square feet, somewhere in
Right.
there. Bottom line.
Correct.
Thanks.
Is this supposed to be the front? I'm trying to figure out how you get into the two separate spots. So is this supposed to be the front of both?
So
that's the existing structure. So the stairs to the left is where I currently walk into my house.
The stairs to the left, over here.
Correct. So this house,
The window now is,
nope, there's a door to the right.
there's a door to the right here.
When you go up to so that's the new structure.
So this is the new structure. So you enter that one through this door. How do you get into this one? How do you get into the other side?
If it's
'Cause
not in the
that's a
drawing, it's
window.
just missing, the door is to the right, it's the existing, it's my existing door.
I don't know if you
It's
have the
Might
same
have
one.
right over, you can't see the door.
hmm.
So if you go up the
It's
stairs,
a right,
right there.
you go up the stairs onto a porch and then you turn to your right.
Is he saying
You
this?
won't see it.
Yeah.
You can't, so see where the window is? It's to the right of the window.
Oh,
I know, you just can't see.
I just couldn't figure out how you get in. Goes through
Two
a
different
window.
entrances, and then as part of the new design, we have put a door on the opposite corner. Now if you want to hold that up, it's kind of in the middle of your picture.
This is gonna be all new.
Correct.
So is this a shared garage, or one per unit, or just a new unit?
We will use it as shared.
So are you adding more space to the existing structure? Because I mean, if it's all new here, how do you get to your garage from your existing structure?
To my current garage?
This is new, you said, this is gonna be
Correct.
new.
I-
So you're gonna share garages, so there's gonna be 4 garages? Or-
No, there's an existing garage
Okay,
that won't be accessible. It'll be storage. That's from the existing dwelling.
which is on the other side, right?
It's around the corner of your
Okay.
hand.
So how do you get to your unit from here? Do you share living space, or?
No, basement. So I would get to my, if I use that garage, I would go through the basement into my existing dwelling.
Okay.
And then there's a separate entrance on the front of the new dwelling. So what was the original design farmer's porch on the front.
Anybody here on this project? Anybody who wants to be heard on this particular project?
There are some correspondence in here that we didn't get to.
Okay, we'll get, yeah, okay. I just want to know if anyone was here. Okay. Which correspondence are
I'm not sure myself.
Did we get to it at the last meeting?
No, because it got continued, and then we didn't meet
Right.
in, that one, by email.
This one?
Okay.
Because I'll just do what I want to do anyway. It's taken months and months, so. I mean, you could ask it.
Are they on the abutter list?
I really don't.
I'm gonna see if they're on the abutter list.
What's in it?
It's number 36. Meadowood? Okay. Okay, so there is one communication I have here dated January 9th. It's addressed to zoning office to Valerie from the owner of 36 Meadowood Road, just not in favor of the conversion, wanting to keep it a single-family type area. So we'll note that for the record.
Let me ask you this, are there any other 5,000 approximately square feet homes in that area? You don't know? Okay.
Not on Meadowood Road.
Okay. If I
There aren't any other 3,500 square foot houses either.
If I remember correctly, Meadowood Road is a 40B?
No.
I don't think it was a 40B, but I do think, my recollection is when it was a specific zoning district.
It
It
when
came through here.
When it was built.
There was a special permit, I
It was a
believe.
special
It
permit.
was a special permit.
And it was zoned to be constructed the way
I think it
it
was a
was.
special permit which is permitted under the R6 zone,
Yeah.
and it might have been a planning board special permit as well. I don't know if
Clustered,
there's any.
it was a cluster.
Where
housing.
it's cluster housing where they were allowed to bring property lines, closer together and all under a special permit.
Right.
I thought it was a 40B.
I don't think so.
I don't think, nothing that I've read
No.
on
I
it.
don't think it was a 40B, it was a village style. It's been a while, but that's what I recall how it was constructed.
So we had the water pump issue and all that stuff.
No, you're thinking of Orchard.
Orchard, okay.
You're thinking of Orchard.
Which is right next door.
Up the street. That was
The
the
street.
40B.
Orchard is the 40B up the street.
Oh, maybe.
That was up the
Yeah.
street. That was a, which Madam Vice Chair is referring to as a 40B that came in the form of a definitive subdivision. So we effectively acted as the planning board. But this one's different.
Can I just approach this to confirm something with the plans that you're looking at versus the one that I'm looking at?
Yeah. Sure.
This is January's.
Yeah, see, I wasn't sure of that either. That's why I was asking, because I thought the roof line, and they're not really stamped. You know, they weren't stamped, so it was kind of hard to form an opinion from you on in terms of how that,
These are the plans we got in January.
So 3.1?
They're dated August 2nd.
Oh, that might be because.
You what?
Okay, this one was dated March 3rd.
Well, I don't have my
well,
time,
because it does look,
so I don't have
just to
anything
me,
new.
I can't.
You have all the new
can't
stuff.
visualize
You
it.
should be sharing with
This is
us.
what I have, A 3.1.
You did.
So you just, so basically all you did was this.
Except a sense of sanity.
Well, I think.
You whiffed.
We don't have that.
Yeah, you got the,
No, we don't, it's different.
that plan.
Yeah. They had 2 months, so.
Yeah, do you want to fix those plans?
I-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's a,
No, this is all different. Yeah, 2 months. No, mine is too.
why waste time? Why waste time?
Okay.
Okay. All right, so what would you like to do? Is there anything else you guys would like to submit? Do you want to, are those plans the right plans?
I'm sorry, we're actually in the middle of a meeting. So if you guys could just keep it quiet down there so we can discuss here. Thank you. Sorry, I can't hear you, Al, so.
I didn't say anything.
Just jumping in, sorry.
I didn't say anything, just... Okay, so, we got the zoning map, we got that letter, we have your updated design. We have plans, where are we on the plans?
I mean, I can submit, if you'd like them, this March 30th plan, which includes the porch. Apparently, this plan may not have been submitted when the picture was submitted, the conceptual.
Yeah. Okay. They're not stamped though, right? They're not stamped, they're just conceptual plans? That's the deal?
Yeah.
Keep these there.
Just trying to keep this all... Wait,
There's an updated, okay.
that's the updated one. So that's the record. So, okay, so what is it you'd like, what do you want? What?
This, do you have this?
Well, she has it, yeah, okay. This hasn't changed.
Nope.
Okay. I'm assuming this hasn't changed.
They said it hasn't.
Yep, yep, okay. All right, so what else is there for tonight? What do you guys want us to do tonight? Do you want us to close the public hearing, deliberate it? Is there anything else you want to submit? Nobody else is here that wants to be heard, right? Okay. So just so you know, so you know we're a five-person board with two alternates. Nathan is our newest member. He was an alternate before. He's, by the way, congratulations. He's been elevated up. He got a bump in pay, and, which is a joke because we don't get paid.
Nothing to zip.
So the five-person board would be Nathan, Paul, myself, Ellen, and Al. And that's, you need 4 out of 5 votes. They're supermajorities. Cover all my bases on that? So I don't know, you know, if,
I don't know, I mean, I was here in January, listened to what you said, or I thought I did. You know, Alan didn't like the property because it looked like a tenement. We tried to get rid of that look.
Oh, I didn't say that.
No, I said Alan did.
Oh, Alan.
Alan.
No, I would never say that.
He did, so we tried to get rid of that. I mean, what we have is a house that was built in 1930, that when they put the new development in, they kind of turned the property around. So our front yard is what used to be the backyard. It doesn't look like any of the abutting houses, and it never will. It never did, and when they approved the plan originally, they probably should have made all the houses look like mine from the front side. But they didn't. So I think we tried to do that. Doug had an issue with the roof line. I know he's not here now, but he was when I was here, so I changed that and just tried to incorporate it. The feedback that I got in January was that it didn't look like the neighborhood houses. So we tried to do that. There's no way it will ever look like the neighborhood houses. It's already too large. So I'm hearing that still don't like the plan, so I'm not sure that continuing and making other changes, I'm not sure what changes I could make that would please the board. I'm open to hearing it, but other than changing the size of it, which doesn't work all that much, not more than a couple hundred square feet. And
Let me say this,
sure.
okay? I drove that neighborhood, and I went around the circles a couple of times. They're all single-family homes there. And they're all on tight lots. Okay, they're all single-family homes. There are no two-family homes. They're all similar to each other. By your letter that you gave us, all of the homes are under 2,000 square feet, and they have at least 2 generations of families living with them. But let's just use the number 2,000 square feet. You're asking us to approve something 4,600 square feet, more than twice as large. How out of character are you with the neighborhood? I'm getting these numbers from the building application.
Right, but it's 1,100 square feet. It's not, I mean, what's existing is 35. So I-
But the total building, after all the work is done, when somebody drives into that neighborhood, they're gonna see this castle, right? They're gonna see a castle of 4,600 square feet.
Not
And it's gonna be
denying that.
so far out of the character of the neighborhood, you know, the guys to the left, to the right, the guys across the street from you, they're gonna be looking up and say, who's the king? Okay? I mean, that's the way I see it. I'm just being perfectly honest with you. I mean, all these people, they want to talk about roof lines, this line, that line, okay? Let's get down to the meat and bones of this thing. That's the way I feel. You take that information, you do what you want to do.
What I think the applicant was saying, Alan, look, I hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
This
We're
is an
wasting time.
enormous structure in the context of a number of, or a neighborhood of much smaller structures.
Yeah.
The trick, I think, on this one is, that I was hearing from the applicant, is that the castle predates all the
I
smaller
understand that.
structures.
But he wants to make the
So
castle
what we're
larger.
doing is, what happens therefore is, someone else builds all the way around the castle,
I
builds
get it.
smaller structures, and now the board is having a voice that says, your house is too big. And not only is your house too big right now,
No.
you're trying to make your house even bigger.
He wants to make it even bigger.
Right.
And he wants to take the character of a single-family neighborhood, of
Which was-
cluster zoning. It's the character of a single-family neighborhood.
Currently zoned R6.
Oh, I understand, but now he wants to introduce a two-family. Hey, listen, we're all entitled to our vote. I know which way I'm voting, you vote opposite me. Let's do it, all right?
That's not
All
new.
right, okay, no, you have your argument, I have my argument. Okay, so let's not beat around the house.
Probably the last argument I would offer, Alan, is, who am I to say what someone can do with their lot? Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, no, I get it. But aren't we here to try and preserve and protect neighborhoods?
It's an argument
too?
that you made that I don't believe, quite frankly. So it's a situational argument that you make. Who we are to tell somebody what they're going to do with their lot is the zoning board of North Andover. So it's a power, it's an authority, it's an action that I take seriously, and I try to be consistent with.
And I'm taking it seriously, too. You just put a lot more depth and thought into some of these decisions. Okay? Enough said.
You know, I see the situational issues, I see the geographical issues. I mean, you had the cluster zoning that sort of came in and changed the character of the neighborhood that the existing structure was in, you know? So it's almost as if, in my view, there's been a lot of spot zoning, if you will, in the general area, because you got the cluster there, you got the CDD one, the general business, all in close proximity, you know, so it's tight. I mean, there's no denying that single-family characteristic. For me, the question is, you know, is what you're intending to do, you know, preserving that look of the single-family characteristic, you know, whether it's the conversion or not. I think, had you had the option to maybe do the suite, if that was in the bylaw, maybe that would be before us. You know, I don't know, but, you know, more often than not, that's what we see when an applicant has the ability to apply for that. So, you know, and you're wrestling with the confines of the existing structure. So this, you know, the scale is a little big, but I also understand the constraints of modern construction as well. So, particularly when you're working with an existing structure. So, you know, I'd like to see, you know, I am, you know, generally speaking, you know, I like to see plans that are a little tighter. I like to see stamped plans. I like to see things that, you know, I know if they're going to be approved, that the building department can rely on, because in approval would tie it all down so we know exactly what that's going to look like. I like to see a little bit more with landscaping. I like to see a little bit more with potential stormwater management or runoff if you're going to start moving the earth around, if there's no other boards you're going to. You know, I refer to it as like if it's a one-stop shopping, you know, so there's no other jurisdictions. I like to make sure that the board's covered all their bases for potential issues. That being said, I don't generally have a problem with what you're trying to do. I just like to see the plans a little bit more particular for us to rely on. Because I understand, and I guess I recall the history, I should say, of how this area came to be. So, you know, your property was sort of outside of that, and everything kind of happened around it, you know, so, you know, that's not lost on me in terms of what you want to do. I like things to look like they're supposed to be there or have been there, you know.
I think Mike had mentioned that this house is never going to look like it's supposed to be there, and that's not Mike's fault. That's the developer that developed all of his neighbors' houses, and now he's being held to account for it. And size is but one dimensional element of a home. And another dimensional element is side setbacks. We're all familiar with them. In the R6 zone, it's a 15-foot setback, and Mike's house complies and is going to comply with a 15-foot setback. The 5-foot setback is the special permit that was obtained for single-family only, the rest of the neighborhood. So there's also an argument that, you know, poor Mike, whose house was there, had all these other houses come in, all clustered on top of each other. But he's got a bigger lot with more space and bigger setbacks. The one-family versus two-family element, if you look at...
I mean, you could affect, can I just ask a question?
If you look at the bylaw...
You could build an addition without...
He can build the exact same
You're here for the two-family
thing,
conversion.
and he's here for the two-family, and we appreciate that. And that's also...
But if you went to the building
I've
inspector...
been before this board a lot of
Brian.
times, and when Mike came in...
Brian, hold on a
just-
second.
Yep.
If you went to the building inspector and you said, I just wanted to put an addition on my house, and it would effectively, you could do the same dimensions without board approval,
Correct,
right? As a single family.
correct.
So really, the only thing we're talking about is the conversion.
I'd like to not use the word conversion, just it's a
Well,
change of
from what,
use. I'm-
change of use? Okay, 1 to 2 family, but you can effectively get the dimension you want
Correct,
without this board taking action.
correct.
So the dimensional issue, to me, I would suggest to the board, is at play in that, you know, do you want to try to regulate what could potentially be there or not? Because otherwise, you could just build an addition that comports with your setbacks.
Correct.
And I think that
In
that's
the old
something the
design,
board...
the old uglier design.
So I throw that out to this board to consider. That's all.
Okay.
So we'll take whatever action you want us to take tonight. You want us to close the public hearing and move it along? We're happy to do it. We have other hearings.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah.
I think that, I mean, from what we're hearing is we've got a couple of issues that we don't have a way around. One is what we are asking for is two-family, and we're being told you're the only two-family, and none of the other ones are two families, and so we're not inclined to grant it. So if the very special permit that we're asking for is the offense that we can't get around, I don't know what we could possibly come back with which resolves that issue for any board members who have that concern. And then the second one is one of the size of the structure. There are some concerns which have been raised, which I think a continuance we could potentially address, such as landscaping, drainage, those types of things. But if we can't get around the other concerns, I think Mike's inclined just to put it to a vote, and if it's approved, great. If it's not approved, he'll move on. He's got, his in-laws are going to be moving in with him at some point in time, and he's got to build something to accommodate them, and whether it's a awkward-looking one family or an awkward-looking two family that we try to make look a little bit nicer, I guess is kind of what lies in the balance.
Okay.
Okay, with hearing that, I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
I'll second the motion.
Motion second. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Hearing none, hearing's closed. Any further deliberation?
The only thing that I want to say is, I fully understand and grasp that what he's proposing is well within of the zoning guidelines, as far as the size of the structure and the setbacks and everything else. I get all that. Okay? So it's not, quote, the building. My problem is, you drive that circle, and there's two circles there per se, correct? They're all single-family
three or
homes.
four, but-
Yeah, okay, they're all single-family homes. And I understand your predicament, you were there first.
Right, yeah.
But it is what it is
Paul
now,
wants to do it.
okay? And forgetting the size of the structure, because I know you have the right to build whatever you want to build, you're still wanting a two-family in a single-family neighborhood. That's what my problem is. And I'm surprised that the neighbors aren't here squawking, but they aren't.
Well, because you brought, I mean, I had several letters of support from it.
We're actually closed, so that the meeting, we close the meeting, we can't take any new evidence.
No, I wasn't, I was,
Yeah.
Alan brought it up, I was just letting him know.
It's okay, so we're just deliberating.
Yep.
It's okay.
Anyways, that's the way I feel.
Well, in the
It's not
spirit
a
of,
secret, by the way, right? Okay.
in the spirit of deliberation, and that it is no secret because it's a matter of public record back in January, but there were 5 voices in support of this project, and there were 2 voices in opposition at the public hearing.
The letters.
Yeah, that's everything.
All right, anything else? We'll just, so what we tend to do is we move them in the affirmative, and then it needs 4 votes to be approved.
So I will make a motion. I know, I haven't done one in so long, I might be a little rusty, sorry.
It's okay.
Madam
So
Clerk.
We're
good
here
evening.
we're here to help.
I'll make a motion to grant the petition for Michael Consoli for property at 35 Meadowood Road, map 25, parcel 24, North Andover, Mass., in the R6 zoning district for a special permit from section 4.125.16 of the zoning bylaw conversion from one family to two family in the R6 zoning district is required from the zoning board of appeals. And I am going to reference
Not that one,
the
that one.
plan submitted by Michael Sergi, date 9/28/17. I'm also going to reference, I'm not quite sure what this is, a zoning map that shows the R6. I'm going to reference the updated 35 Meadowwood conceptual plans, and I'm also going to reference the 4 pages that you had given us that we received today from MD Design, A2.1, A3.1, A3.2, A3.3. Anything else? And anything else that was submitted prior that you have all these plans, deeds, photos, I'm sorry, photos.
All right. And,
Did I miss anything?
no conditions, right?
No conditions, no.
Okay. All right, there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. Okay, hearing no further discussion, I guess we'll call the vote. We'll start with you, Alan.
No.
No? Ms. McIntyre?
No.
Mr. Weintraub?
Yes.
Paul?
Aye.
Aye, I am also in favor. Regrettably, it fails 3-2. Okay, so we'll have a decision within 14 days.
Thank you.
This goes with that. She needs to submit that. That's new. I think that's it.
So I'll just go do. Yeah, I'll take it. Okay, we're just going to take a 2-minute recess. Okay, we stand adjourned for 2 minutes. Is a new public hearing, a petition of Connie and Nicholas Vigardos for property of 1717 Turnpike Street, also known as 1731 Turnpike Street, map 107B, parcel 0018, North Andover, in the general business zoning district. So we need to open a public hearing. I can find that. Where's the notice?
I have it right there.
This is the notice?
Yes.
Why didn't I know it? Do you want to read it? Or do you want me to?
Madam Clerk,
Do you want to read it?
open the meeting.
No, Madam Clerk.
I'm going to give it to,
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at the Town Hall at 120 Main Street, North Andover, Massachusetts, on Tuesday, March 13th, obviously continued due to weather, at 7:30 p.m. to all parties interested in the petition of Connie and Nicholas Vergados for property 1717 Turnpike Street, a.k.a. 1731 Turnpike Street, map 107.B, parcels 0018, North Andover, Mass. 01845 in the GB zoning district. The applicant is requesting variances pursuant to Town of North Andover zoning bylaws, section 4.131, general business district, and table 2, summary of dimensional requirements for new construction of a commercial 2-unit building within the GB zoning district. First, a variance is requested under section 4.131 general business district, lot area required 25,000 square feet. The proposed is 15,000 square feet with relief of 10,000 square feet. Second, a variance from Table 2, dimensional requirements, zoning bylaws, footnotes, and graphics for side setback in the GB zoning district to construct a commercial 2-unit building. Side setback proposed is 26 feet. Required side setback per Table 2 is 40 feet. Therefore, the relief variance needed is 14 feet. Third, a variance from Table 2, dimensional requirements, zoning bylaws, footnotes, and graphics for 1 front setback in the GB zoning district to construct a commercial 2-unit building. Front setback proposed is 26 feet. Required front setback per Table 2 is 100 feet. The relief variance therefore needed is 74 feet. Finally, a variance from Table 2, dimensional requirements, zoning bylaws, footnotes, and graphics for 1 rear setback in the GB zoning district to construct a commercial 2-unit building. Rear setback proposed is 35.5 feet. The required front setback per Table 2 is 50 feet. The relief variance therefore needed is 14.5 feet. Applications, supporting materials are available for review at the Office of the Zoning Department located 120 Main Street, North Andover, Massachusetts, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from the hours of 8 to 4, Tuesday from the hours of 8 to 5:30, and Friday from 8 to 11:30 by order of the Board of Appeals. Albert P. Manzi III, Esquire, Chairman. So ends the reading.
Okay. That is a lot. Nice job.
Hey, thanks.
We're giving you extra credit for that tonight.
And in the balcony.
All right, Mr. Christensen, how are you?
Good. Good evening. Philip Christensen, representing the applicant. We're here this evening, Connie and Nicholas Vergados. Well, you presented the whole situation to us. I don't need to say much.
Motion closed?
So we're ready to go, right?
This is, as you can see by what's been read, it's a small lot on Route 114 between Sullivan Court and Colonial Drive. it is in the general business zone, and the properties on both sides are in the general business zone. The property to the rear is residential. As you stated, the zoning setback for a property on 114 is 100 feet. Well, this lot isn't even 100 feet deep, so it's not possible to meet that. The zoning in general business zone is 25 feet front, 35 feet rear, and 25 feet side if you're in the normal zone. But being on 114, it's got to be 100 feet back. Additionally, there's an issue of the way the zoning reads. It says if it abuts a residential district, you have to add 15 feet, which is why they said there's 40 feet required on the sides, 25 plus the 15. But both sides of this property are zoned business. It's the same zone. To the rear, it's residential, and I agree that, in fact, that that's a requirement, that it's got to be 50 feet. 35 plus 15 feet would be 50 feet. But it's, to me, I don't think it's a proper interpretation that the side setbacks have to be increased by 15 feet. But that's the way the building inspector sees it. He says the lot abuts a zoning residential district, therefore all of those setbacks increase. No, I didn't, but it's just something to mention. So it is, what's proposed is a beauty salon about 1,200 square feet, and then office space of 1,500 square feet on the lot, which requires 13 parking spaces. We've shown that here. We've shown the setbacks. We said it is an existing lot, non-conforming, and as I said, you cannot meet the requirements of the zoning district with the size of the lot. You can't meet that 100-foot setback because the lot isn't even that big. So if you can't do anything on the lot, like build a building like this, then it's really a taking of the lot by the town, that it's not buildable. And that doesn't seem reasonable. Excuse me?
Is there anything on it now?
There is not, no.
Was there anything ever on it?
There was at one time, years ago.
That would have been, Alan, that would have been years. It's next to 85.
Okay. 4.131. So Phil, when did that lot exist as it relates to the zoning changes?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a general feeling as to whether it may predate that zoning?
I think
or
it
not?
did, yes.
Okay. In the layouts of the buildings on each side of it, are the structures sort of in line with what you're proposing, or are they in different areas?
It is on the, well, the gas station side. The other side, it's an empty lot, and then there's the road.
Yeah, okay.
So there's not, that's residential.
So can I ask you something? So
So we'll
was
go
it
with
not
another chance.
our reason to purchase the empty lot, or is it owned by someone else, or is it?
That this lot's owned by an individual. It's available for sale. The other one wasn't,
Okay.
as far as I know.
Can I ask another question? Now, those parking spots, so you have 35 feet between the lot and the building. So you have, can you get a fire engine around that? Is that a legal parking spot at the 8 by 10, I think it is, or?
Yes, they are there. Well, the parallel spots in the back are 20 by 10. And the other ones are 9 by 19. There's 24 feet behind the perpendicular spots. So you can get a fire truck in there and out the other side as well.
Okay.
Now, Connie, who's here, and it would be her salon, would like to say a few words about what she proposes to do there.
Okay,
might-
we'll get to that. So the permitting, you're here with us as it relates to these dimensional issues. Where else do you have to go?
Just be site plan approval.
Site plan
Through the
approval?
departments, right.
Yeah, have they let you file the application there?
We have not without this,
No.
because it's more expense, and
Yep.
if the variances aren't granted, it's just,
Yep.
It'd be a
So
waste.
that's the site plan review as it relates to the flow of traffic, the layout of the spaces, What else?
Drainage,
Drainage.
lighting, all those things get addressed.
Okay.
Signage as well, yeah.
Sure. Do the cuts exist going into the lot? From
No.
the- Yeah,
They do not.
okay. So those are from the state?
Yes, we'd have to go to the state. There's no barrier there, so it's not the same as if you had a guardrail, you have to get a separate approval, but
Any crossings to get in, or is it all on grade?
is it all what?
Is it all on grade, or are there any wetland
Yeah,
crossings?
no wetland crossings. It's a flat lot, no wetlands.
Okay.
Isn't much grading to do out there.
My thing is this, and I completely get what you say, that if a variance isn't granted, it's really a taking by the town of land.
Right.
I get that, and I don't think that's fair, because it's a pre-existing lot, right, with no fault of its own. My only concern is, boy, you're just trying to squeeze everything you can into that one little lot. If you just had the beauty salon, and I understand the reason for the two offices, there's two incomes to help pay the mortgage, I'm sure, right? Okay? But if you had just one office and the building saloon, everything would shrink a little bit, right? The building would shrink, and the parking places.
Parking requirements,
And the
yeah.
parking requirements would really open up a little bit. And to me, it's just a little more, and the entrance on the left, there's a street right there, okay, when I drove by that.
Farther over, yeah.
Yeah,
Beyond that.
okay. If people were coming in and out of that street, the traffic there, but that would really, but the way it is now with all of that busyness, but I see where somebody wants to do something, and I see you doing it the right way, we just gotta let's say fine tune it a little bit. I mean, you understand where I'm coming from?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, we got everything squashed in there with the parking and fire trucks and all of the above.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're 26 feet from the road?
No, it's from the
The five-
property line.
The property line, and then the 5 feet for the,
There's probably 10 to 15 feet out there to the pavement,
to the pavement, okay.
yeah.
And where's the nearest house? In the back?
Nearest house, from this building to the house in the back, I think is 174 feet. Let me check that. No, I'm sorry, it's 77 feet from the back of the building to the
Do we have that in
nearest
here?
neighbor. No, you don't.
Can I see that then,
I've got,
please?
sure. That's a sketch from the aerial photos.
Oh, yeah. We don't have the,
No, we don't have anything
we
like
don't have
that.
that one either, right? The small one? Just you?
No, we don't have anything like that
No, we
either.
don't have anything like
I
that.
have copies of the drawing that's up here from the architect.
Oh, do you? Were they filed with us?
No.
No.
We did file renderings.
Yeah, we did, but then the colored conceptual drawings, is that what you're asking for, the conceptual that's up there?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so Valerie's saying no, that's why I'm asking.
I didn't receive those drawings tonight. They told me that I could bring them tonight. They said
Girl,
that
who
they
told
weren't
you that?
necessary. When I went to the office downstairs,
Which office?
planning?
Okay, so we're the zoning board, so
Right.
what we require as a board is very different from what the planning board requires. For me, I take the time to look at my packet prior to
course.
coming here. And if I'm handed something at the meeting, I won't even look at it.
Right.
Because, I mean, you've had time to prepare this and give it to
You gonna look at
Valerie,
this?
so.
Can I give it to you?
I'll look
No.
at it though.
But we did have
I'll look at it.
architectural drawings with the application, but not
Right.
these.
Just not these. These were, they
And
told me
this
that I
too,
should
which
bring
is extremely important, it tells me where the residence is, it tells me where the
Sure.
abutters are.
I-
So,
I got to mention something to you about that, now that you raise the issue.
okay,
If you remember, the plans we used to do were on bigger sheets. We used to provide a lot more information.
Yeah.
And now, we have to do everything on 11 by 17.
Says who?
It says your rules, and that's what's enforced. So that's why we provide less information than we used to, or something like that. They
I
say
think,
don't-
well, just to be
I
honest.
don't understand, because it's smaller that you have to provide less, is
I don't
that?
think,
Well,
I'm not quite
I
sure.
don't think our rule, I think that's a minimum standard. I don't think you're precluded from filing anything
we
bigger.
would, my partner was told that on other applications, that the only
To
thing
the
that
planning
we're...
board? Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
Board of Appeals. The only thing that would be accepted is 11 by 17.
Well, so let me clear that up. So that's not true.
Great.
Yeah.
That makes it much easier.
Okay, and as far as,
Just try to figure out,
I mean,
I would prefer to give more information because I know you like it, but you
Yeah.
want to...
I mean, so the 11 by, that might be a minimum standard, I think, that's in the rules, but I've never,
7 feet
no one,
from the-
no, I didn't get a call from anybody asking if we would accept
So
it.
it came up, do you remember there was one on Dale Street, a small house, Cronin?
Yeah.
It was during that
guys
Cronin
want to see it down there?
application when we were told to go back and redo everything to 11 by 17.
Well, if there's ever any doubt, just give us a call and
All
ask,
right,
because
sure.
I can tell you that's not the case.
Okay,
And,
good.
So that's
you know,
77
and
square.
anything that I can see without my glasses is certainly helpful.
Well, when you started talking about drainage and stuff too, you can't do that on this and get all the information you need.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the
ab-
map, this large map that you have up there,
Mhm.
Turnpike Street isn't in the right spot. Because according to that map, you're entering in through the
This
woods.
Turnpike Street is where
One of these is gonna go
just
down
this
there.
little sketch here, so you know that there's Sullivan Court, Colonial Ave.
Wait a minute,
There's
no,
the
no.
locus, there's Turnpike Street. That's
Did you have another one of
Turnpike
those?
Street down
Where'd you
here.
get that one?
Yes, I saw that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I did.
That makes a little bit more
That's just
sense.
so you have some reference. Because again, at 11 by 17, you can't fit a locus plan on it, and I wanted to be able to show you, this is where the lot is, Colonial Avenue, and the residential neighborhood back in here. Prime gas station's right in here, and this is Sullivan Court, again, more residential.
So it's a 2-in-1 picture.
Okay. I thought I was going crazy. I thought we were entering in through the woods.
So, Phil, how did you calculate the parking? Was it based on an office?
It's,
Or how did you break up the car counts?
in the zoning table, it's 2 spaces per seat in the salon.
Okay,
And then, as you can see, there's 1,500 square feet of office space, and that's 3 per thousand
That's
is what
3
you
per
need.
1,000, right?
Which makes 4.5, rounded up to 5. 5 plus 8 is the 13.
okay, and does that include anything that you need for handicap spaces?
I guess the total number would include handicap, yes.
Okay,
So we'd have to show them as such, but
and then you,
it doesn't require additional spaces for handicap.
yeah, I know we're not site plan review, I'm just trying to get a
Yeah.
handle on.
Yep.
And what's the width of the road? It looks like we'd be proposing like an entrance on,
That's 24 feet.
this 24 feet.
The one on the right, the one on the left is, I believe that's 16 feet.
So you think it rises to the level of a taking, really?
Well, if you were to enforce a 100-foot setback from Turnpike Street, yes, because there's nothing you can build on it, because 100 feet is deeper than the lot.
Because the lot predates that zoning
Yeah.
setback?
Right.
I get that, but in the age of compromise, instead of just, I don't know what the right adjective is, you're just encompassing the whole lot. Okay, there's like nothing there. It's if we could just free some of the lot and still try and get what we're trying to accomplish, you know?
Sure.
You know, to me, that one less office in, I see the plans here. And the artist must be commended. It looks like a beautiful thing here, right? I mean, all the open space all around it, right? Somehow I can't picture that. I drove by that lot. I just can't picture it looking this nice. I'm sorry. Okay? And maybe my glasses need to be a little clearer or something, okay? You know, the gas station even looks neat and clean over there. I mean, I stood there. Okay.
I guess it's artistic
Well, our goal
license.
is to have a beautiful building.
Yeah, no. The goal, the building is an attractive-looking building, okay? It's just a lot of building for a small lot, in my opinion, you know? Some people here may disagree with me. I mean, I see what you're trying to get, and I'm going to bet that you have Your PNS is contingent upon your zoning requirements.
Yes, and we
Right.
have an existing business now, there's a little history
Yeah.
behind why we're even here looking at this lot. So there is a history, we already own a salon in North Andover. So I was actually gonna just quickly run that by you guys so you would all understand why we're here. And if you have a minute, I'll read this to you real quick, it's about a minute long, just letting you know.
What is it you want to read?
So I actually made copies here of it. It's just a little narrative.
Just tell
if
me
you
what it
wanna-
is.
It's just a narrative, just letting you know why we're here.
Oh,
And
okay.
giving you a little history of why I'm looking at this property, because it is such a small lot. And most people are asking us that same question, but I just wanted to introduce myself and just let you know where we're coming from.
Okay.
So I'll just be very brief. I just want to thank you all for your time and service to North Andover. My name is Connie Vergados, and my husband Nicholas and I live in the house that we built nearly 20 years ago on 99 Pheasant Brook Road here in North Andover. We raised our 3 children here. My boys are all proud graduates of North Andover High School. They ran cross-country, participated in track and field, and they were part of several state championship events while on the wrestling team for North Andover. Although they're all in college now, they too hope someday to settle in North Andover. My husband and I have owned and operated the Salon Vergados, presently located exactly 2.1 miles from our home at 701 Salem Street in North Andover, for about 17 years now. On August 5th, 2017, we were informed by the owners that they have other plans for the building that we're in, which involved tearing down our present location, and we have no alternative but to move our business. This in turn led us to this lot at 1717 Turnpike Street in North Andover. My husband and I both fell in love with this lot because of its size and accessibility. The lot is coincidentally located 2.1 miles also from our home, and most of our clients are from North Andover, so it would be a reasonable distance for them to travel to as well. We're here tonight requesting the approval for the construction of a beautiful and well-designed building that will improve the value of the lot, enhance the landscape of the area, and serve as an inviting and complementary business to the neighboring community. We look forward to service existing and new clients with exceptional quality and customer service, and we hope to continue this in our hometown at this location on 1717 Turnpike Street. Again, because of its size and accessibility for us compared to where we're at now, it would be the really ideal location for us to be, and size, because we didn't want anything very big. And to address your concerns about the size, which I completely understand because it is a small lot, once we did a cost analysis of moving our existing business and trying to make it sustainable, that was the smallest that we could go to be able to afford all the costs that we will incur moving our business and, of course, maintaining the property, making it look beautiful, which we are in the beauty industry, so we want the whole building to be complementary to the beauty industry. And the reason we separated it that way was because it's just my husband and I working, as we have been for 17 years here in North Andover. So if we kept the smaller, the 2 little spaces that you see, they're smaller, it would be easy to bring an esthetician in because she requires about 700 square feet, as does a manicurist to have a few. So we're kind of hoping to keep it all beauty related. And that was really the smallest that we could go size-wise to accommodate that, and that was the reason it is. So, thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
You show a picture of this, the Joe Malone?
Oh,
What
that
is
was our initial, that's our inspiration to the building. That's our inspiration. So when he did that, that's actually the closest I'm going to try and get it to looking like that building, because I thought it was just so pretty.
That's why that was
That's in-
included in the...
That was that was the original when we first came, and we didn't have these until after we found out that we were going to come to the meeting, so,
So right now, you're on Salem Street in
Yes.
J&M?
yes. Yes, we're the last unit at J&M, and last year he came to us and informed us that they're going to be tearing down the building, and that's why we started looking for feasible properties, and we did find it kind of like divine intervention. That same day, my husband drove around, and this lot was for sale, and it's exactly 2 miles from our house, and J&M is 2 miles exactly from our house, too, so 2.1.
So I drive 114 quite often. There's quite a few of office spaces, empty office space, new buildings being put up. did you happen to look at something, an alternative like?
We
that?
actually have, and the nature of this business, really, you really want a really beautiful frontage, and you really need nice windows for this type of a business to succeed, and to be really to do well. And the other properties that we looked at, they just don't have the accessibility that this has. Plus, this location is, we love Colonial Drive. That area is a beautiful area, and we just thought it was a perfect little spot to do something really pretty and to pretty up the area there as well. I mean, we have, you know, CNC Auto Body and the other building down the street, which we did go look at, but, you know, it's the trucks and cars, and so this lot, even though you have the gas station there, the gas station's a little bit further to the right, and there's a pretty medium in the middle, and we thought if we could landscape it and have it all kind of looking pretty, it would be a lot nicer than anything else that we saw.
But you don't have any landscaping on here, it's more hot top. I don't think you have any room to landscape, you have all hot top.
I think we have a little bit of space in the front, which we'd like to do some low shrubbery and flowers. We always did flowers at where we're at. It's just something that,
You're 26 feet from your lot line, that's very close. So
Okay.
that's not a lot to do there. With a walkway, you know, walkway is going to be a certain...
perhaps planters then. I mean, I'm not sure as far as that goes, but we would, if we were able to, whatever we're able to do to beautify the lot, it just would enhance the building, and that's what we'd like to do. We'd like it, we really would love it to be a very beautiful, attractive building. It's the nature of the business, and we really would love to be able to do that.
Can I just get back to the variance, some zoning questions for a sec, because I'm a little confused. I'm looking at 4.131, general business, right? So you're saying the required's 25,000, the proposed is 15, the relief is 10. That's what you're that's the first one that you're looking for. Could you explain to me again what you meant about the side setbacks and the rear setback?
Right. Where a general, if your lot abuts a residential district,
Yeah.
you have to add 15 feet to the rear and the side setbacks.
Which is the wooded, so looking at this, it's the, okay.
Okay, so the normal rear is 35 and the sides are 25.
I don't see that listed here under 4.131 in the general,
I don't know.
that's why I'm asking where that came from.
It is in your table. I think maybe a footnote.
But it's not in the it's not in the meat and potatoes of the bylaw, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
But it's not referenced from the bylaw. So that's why I'm a little confused about that.
it's not referenced in,
I'm looking at paragraph section 4.131. And unless I'm missing it,
The table's part of the bylaw, is it not?
yeah, it's,
well, usually there's a reference, right, from the bylaw to the table? You know, it's incorporated. Otherwise, why do you need the bylaw if you just have the table?
Well,
You know?
similarly, why do you need the table if you have the bylaw, though? So that feels a little bit circular to me.
The table is a summary, of whatever is articulated in the bylaw.
yeah,
That's why
I
I'm
think in
trying-
that case, though, that extra 15 feet is not within the bylaw, it's been added in the table as a footnote. Right.
So this is just yet another identification for one of the
So-
multitude of flaws that are in
Right.
our bylaws.
Okay, so that being said, let's just move on from that point. So they're telling you you're gonna add on, whoever looked over your plan said you had to add the 15 feet.
Yes,
Okay, from the rear. So that's like a buffer of some kind because you abut...
Abut a residential
A residential district.
yes.
You telling me they're also applying that to the side setbacks?
Yes, even though the
Sides are commercial.
both sides are, yes.
Both
Yeah.
sides are not commercial?
If you look at the zoning map,
you said.
both sides are.
I'm looking at what you gave me.
Oh, that's, yeah, but I'm just saying.
You're telling me
for
that's residential on either side? It's a
No,
home?
you don't have
No, it's
residential.
commercial
areas.
on it. The wings are
The
commercial?
wings are commercial.
Only the rear is
The
residential?
rear is residential,
Right,
right?
that's
Just
correct.
think of all the customers she's gonna have from the 40 feet that's across the street.
We're hoping.
So,
They're all welcome.
so how is that,
That 40 feet is-
how are those constraints affecting this, the proposed size of the structure?
Well, they don't, the proposed structure disregards that extra 15 feet,
Okay,
you know, but what the building inspector is suggesting is that you have to have 40 feet from the sidelines, and we're providing 25 feet.
and he's drawing that from a table, not from a bylaw?
He's drawing that from the footnote.
Or is that
in the
his
table.
interpretation?
Yes,
It's his interpretation of which part?
of the footnote,
Of the footnote?
right.
And which footnote is it again?
I think it's on the dimensional, there's a sheet,
Yeah,
it's very, look. I think it's page like 227.
so I'm looking at summary of use regulations, a summary of dimensional requirements.
No, it's not that one, yeah, so, yeah, right here, the first, I think that's
Okay.
it right there.
Adjacent to residential district, 15 foot. Side or rear?
Yeah, because it's one, yeah.
It says side,
And there's the 100.
it says side or rear. It doesn't say both.
It's the first, you mean,
Shall be required. The first 15 feet
my.
shall remain open, green.
Probably before me. He's probably talking just something. I don't think they're getting it.
Okay. Well, so how do we know, I guess I'm a little confused because paragraph 2 and then paragraph 3, do they conflict?
No, because if you can read it, side
Adjacent to
setback is
residential-
25, and the footnote is 2? It says it here, refers it here. Side, footnote 2, rear, footnote 2.
Okay,
Is that 2?
that's 2.
Okay,
Okay. It says side or rear.
correct.
It does-
Refer to footnote 2.
Yeah, it doesn't say and though. So he's saying that you have to do both.
Yes, and
Because isn't
The
or
rear-
one- isn't or one or the other?
it is, and the rear abuts a residential, that's a clear,
That's clear.
that's clear. The sides do not abut residential.
Okay.
The zoning district, that is, runs straight across.
All right, but
pretty
so
much
you
evenly.
you advertise for it regardless.
We did, I
Okay.
mean, the building inspector's the one that
Okay.
interprets it, so we have to go with his recommendation.
All right, thank you for that clarification.
Can you help me interpret the colors on this? Like there's white, there's blue, and there appears to be black. I'm just trying to find the lot itself. Is it the white?
Yes, the lot is the way.
What's the dark blue? What's that
Yeah,
dark blue box?
This is from the North Andover, and this shows as white, but the property line as it stands is actually the blue one there.
Okay.
Okay, so it's just,
So
you
the
can't
blue.
always match up
No.
the assessors with.
Absolutely, that's what I was trying to discover. Where's the assessor's map and where's the actual lot line?
15 feet. So you're not asking for relief of the 15 feet to be unbuilt in the back, or according to this footnote 2?
No, you're adding the 15 in.
The first 15 feet of the total setback abutting the residential district,
Yeah.
which is in the back, is the rear, shall remain open and green by suitable landscape, unbuilt upon, unpaved, and not parked upon. You're not
That's-
asking for relief for that?
We are, we should
Where?
be.
Is
Should
it
have
in
been
here?
You're asking for relief because you advertised it.
But you have a parking lot on it.
Yes, we do.
So, but you're not asking for relief of it? So you can't do that because it's telling you you can't, but you're not asking for relief.
Well, we should modify that.
Oh, hold on now.
It's not that.
I'm reading. The side setback. Well, what you're asking for is dimensional relief. I mean, the rest of it would be a site plan issue, actually. You know, what you're saying is, we want relief from that setback with respect to the dimension, but we're not necessarily saying what you can construct or not construct within that. It's just dimensional as it
But-
relates to buffer.
But our bylaw is telling us what he can do and what he's presenting in front of us.
But that's a site plan review issue.
It's in front of me, he's going against the bylaw.
Well, it's-
It's telling you what you can and what you can't do.
So
It's
you
not a
could-
site plan, I mean, it's what you can.
Well, it is, you don't have to accept the plan, right? But it's really a site plan
Well, this
issue.
is the plan in front of me, and he needs those parking spots to meet the requirement parking.
Yeah, but let's get down to the nitty-gritty here.
Yeah.
The bylaw as it is written makes that land completely unusable. Okay, it makes the land completely unusable. So, in my opinion, okay, by the literal enforcement of this bylaw, you have the taking of the land by the town by virtue of you can't build anything on it,
That's not true.
okay? So, this is a moot point. We all know it's an undersized lot where theoretically, nothing can be built without a variance. So you're quoting all of these numbers and all of these things, it's already recognized as an undersized lot. The question comes up, do you grant a variance to an undersized lot? Or, quote, like the man said, in reality, is it a taking by the town via an eminent domain because you're not allowing anything to be built on it? Okay, so do you grant relief or do you not grant relief?
Who wants a lot now?
And she has to contingent upon the PNS, I'm assuming.
And she gave you permission to speak
Right.
on her behalf, so that's in our packet? Doesn't
No,
the
wait a
landowner
minute.
have to?
There was a letter.
Oh,
There should,
okay.
there should be a letter of.
There was a purchase and sale.
Yeah, there's
purchase
a
and sale
PNS,
agreement.
there's contingencies, yeah.
I don't need, we don't need you.
We don't have a letter.
Nothing to,
You don't
Then why do we need a letter?
because they're not the landowner.
She doesn't-
Oh, okay, I
she
understand,
doesn't have a right.
understand,
need-
okay,
Hold,
okay.
hold.
But she hasn't assigned the
We
right
have a
to
purchase,
someone?
we have a
Purchase and
PNS,
sale
yeah,
agreement.
there's
Yeah,
a
okay,
PNS.
okay.
All right, so that's a procedural issue at this point in terms
Right.
of just, there needs to be a letter on file. You're engaged, but
Mhm.
that's a procedural issue. Okay. But you're representing to us, you have a purchase and sales agreement.
We do. I didn't bring it, but we do have one.
Why would she spend all this money if she didn't have it?
I'm
Right.
just asking the question.
Well,
So
procedurally, and
these are things that we
have
need
to.
at the intake, right? You have to get this
We
done.
thought she owned it.
Well,
That's
You know,
what
okay, so,
I didn't realize it.
okay.
We thought you owned it, or I thought, I didn't know you.
Yeah, we had discussed it, but that's
Maybe
okay.
Paul, but
Yeah, maybe Paul
I'm
was
not
there and you
getting,
weren't
I don't want to
there.
get into the
That's
legal
okay.
theories of purchase and sales agreements, but we just need to get a letter on it.
No problem.
All right, so we got that issue done. Okay, where were you on that?
I've already said my piece. You want me to repeat myself?
Nope.
Come on, it's getting late.
I don't want you to repeat anything, Alan.
I repeat myself. It's an undersized lot, a grandfathered pre-existing undersized lot, okay? By virtual literal enforcement of the zoning bylaw, theoretically, nothing can be built there. So the question comes to us, do we ever, this board or future boards, grant relief to a pre-existing grandfathered lot? And if we don't, in reality, it just becomes a piece of real estate that the town, quote, really owns.
So now it's a question of
Okay.
equities, though, right? So now it's a
All right.
question of equities where, you know, in theory, they really can't build what they want. There's a proposal, you know, and they're looking for relief, you know, you didn't.
And this board is set up for relief,
So this is where
correct?
this is where the board weighs into this process.
That's correct.
And sees what, you know, what's palatable in terms of.
What kind of compromises can be made to make something work,
Right.
the way I see it.
How many people from the neighborhood are here on this? Oh, everybody. Okay.
Everybody's in favor of it, right?
I should have known. So,
No, no.
so let's get to this. Let's, why don't we switch gears? We'll give the abutters a chance to be heard. What we like to hear from the statutory abutters, if you're on the abutters list, you get noticed, you just come to the microphone, you state your name and address for the record. And you say your piece. direct it to the board, and, we'll hear what your comments are, and where you are on that stuff, okay?
Hello, I'm Chris Carter, 15 Colonial Ave. My property...
Excuse me one second.
Can I just grab my butter
Sorry?
list?
Yeah. Do you have a butter list? I looked for the butter list. I didn't have one. Oh, okay, I looked for the butter list. I didn't have it. Does somebody have a butter list?
I'm looking.
Okay.
Okay. Don't have one?
Excuse me one second.
Yeah,
I'd just like to check them off the...
Yeah, I don't see an abutters list either.
No one has an abutters list? Okay.
See an abutters list.
All right. Pardon me?
Is it possible for us to see the plans?
Just see what,
Sure, why not? Yeah.
Well,
Can you
Phil-
show them around?
yeah, all right, so what we're gonna do is, we're just gonna take notes, and then we'll check later to make sure you're about
What's your address?
15 Colonial Ave. My
15?
property is the
Okay.
one that will abut this, or that currently abuts the commercial spot.
Are you this one right here?
That's me.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Chris Carter.
Chris Carter, okay.
C. Carter?
I'm sorry?
Carter?
Yeah, C-A-R-T-R.
Okay.
My concerns with the property are, there's a few. One is that there will be an awful lot of pavement from what was conveyed to me. I hadn't seen this in advance. I went down to the planning zone, I guess, and saw some of those plans. In any case, I think there's a lot of pavement, and since I'll be looking right at that property, I think that's a concern of mine. Second is that the traffic that this new property will bring to an already very busy street. The third is seeing lights outside of my front area. The gas station right there currently leaves lights on all night, and it is a problem. And I am concerned about a business being open till 8, 9 o'clock at night, where our bedrooms face those windows or face that property. That's all I have.
How far is your house from the lot line? Do you know?
I do not know, approximately 30 feet maybe. It's not much.
How long have you been there?
I've only been there for 4 months.
Okay.
My spokesman now?
All right,
You can get it.
so wait, just one at a time. So if Mr. Carter is done, or if he's not done, whatever.
That's all I had.
And if anybody else wants to come up,
can spoke.
I'm just wondering, what are the abuttal properties?
no, you can, hold on, come up. If you want to
I
be
guess I
heard,
can fill that in.
If you-
I guess what I've kind of heard from concern is that there's the gas station on one side, the other side of the property, the other variance that they're requesting is currently a grassy area, and I don't know if we know who owns it. It
Well, you
doesn't
can
sound
check-
like it's a business
well,
zoning.
you can, I mean, look, that's something you can check in the assessor's office with.
Okay.
So you're all here because you all got notice of a hearing, right?
Correct.
So if you got notice of a hearing, that means you're in a butter.
Yeah.
Right, but in terms of who owns the adjacent lot, I don't know until they come up and want to be heard.
It's not, there's nothing on it. It's a,
So you're talking about looking at the property, the empty lot to the left and the right of it,
the
those
right
two?
is the gas station, the left, we're not sure what it is, but it's just.
There's a little lot in between the gas station and this lot.
Correct.
And then there's a lot between
Would-
Colonial Ave.
You could check at the registry of deeds or the assessor's office.
We can have a look at that.
Okay,
There's two small lots.
okay. Who wants to come up next? Hi there.
Hi,
What's your name?
my name is Lana Gill. I live in
Lana Gill.
10 Colonial Avenue.
Okay.
Across the street, I'm in the first house on the other side, across from 15 Colonial. I'm just very concerned. It's one thing to have something there, and I totally understand, and we like that you're trying to present something that's beautiful, and it is kind of a lot that is unused, but it's just too much. It's just, hair salon and 2 offices, and you're proposing to other businesses that you think might be it, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be, what you're saying it will be, because we don't, it's not it's not bought, it's not one business that anybody could buy it at that point. So there's no guarantee what business is gonna go into it. I think most of us are all for, a small hair salon, but this is just, as Alan mentioned, is just too much to fit in. It's overwhelming, with Berry Street across the street from me. We went through that. With the noise, the traffic, there's times that there's cars piled, in a big line of 6 cars in front of my house, waiting to turn left. How much worse is it gonna get? Last year, I met with the chief of police. We went through an exercise where we got additional signage for the neighborhood due to the Berry project and due to the traffic that everybody's cutting through a neighborhood. So this will definitely create additional traffic, more noise, and as Chris mentioned, from 15 Colonial, I will be looking at the building. There will be disturbance, and I would like to know, the hours when the building will be built, because I've heard a lot of noise from prior, construction that took place. And then, will the traffic study be completed? That's kind of.
Well, we'll just save it until after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, I just wanted to see what the planning board, if, once that goes in front of planning board, if it has been, what they had to say about the property. So those are kind of my concerns.
Okay.
Where do you live?
On Oxbow Circle. It's the very next turn after Colonial. Name's Nick Chamalis. So I echo a lot of Lana's concerns, specifically around the reason for having the variance and protecting the neighborhood primarily. I'm not so concerned with the business on either side. I don't believe there's any legal assurance that this could not become something other than a hair salon immediately after. I see a lot like this and I say, why not put a Dunkin' Donuts there? Why not put something that would bring 1,000 cars a day into there? It's a great street for it. 114 is a tremendous business area. You've now cut down almost all trees to prevent noise and light from funneling into the neighborhood. You'll be bringing in a tremendous amount of additional traffic and causing a lot of anxiety for the neighborhood. That's one of my main concerns. I've heard a couple cases made that this is a take back by the town or eminent domain, but I haven't seen any math to actually prove that. I've heard it mentioned and kind of hinted at. I think that a lot of what we see here is trying to present a very positive picture, but if you go and look at where this house is relative to the corner, relative to everything else on 114, this will have a fairly negative impact on that neighborhood and North Andover as a whole. I don't believe there's anything else that hasn't already been discussed. No commitment waste. And, just last, there's already a lot of open, I know this has been mentioned, office space on 114 that is more convenient for traffic, is still 2.1 miles, most likely, from a house, and would help use space that needs to be used. Really, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll be really quick. Margaret Hansberry, 29 Colonial Ave. And I agree with what all they're saying. I think this is a beautiful salon. The idea of having a salon in that area is great, but I'm not sure that from that picture, my house would also be, we can see the lot. It's really right there. We moved in about 4 years ago. I have 2 small kids. That street, just in the last year, has become, I mean, really, it's a neighborhood, but that stretch of the neighborhood doesn't feel like we're in a neighborhood. Cars are flying through. As Lana talked about, we have a really hard time pulling out. I know you mentioned, Alan, that you're driving down 114 a lot. It's almost impossible to get out. So I'm just concerned about more traffic getting out. I guess you explained it, and that was a really good explanation of why you need the 2 extra offices. But that's just what kind of raised a red flag for a lot of us. Like, what are the 2 extra offices? Why does that need to be there? And again, now I understand financially, but it just seems like a lot in a little spot. So that's pretty much my 2 cents.
Thank you. Anybody else want to talk?
Good evening, Wendy Kahn, 51 Colonial Avenue. I am a 21-year resident of North Andover and a 20-year resident of Colonial Avenue. I live on the 3rd house up the street. I think that the fundamental problem here is that the variance that's being asked for is essentially a backdoor attempt to bypass the zoning laws. This is a very small parcel of land that sits right at the entrance to a 40-house residential community. On one side of the salon is Chris's home. On the other side is Lana's home. So there's a misrepresentation that it's commercial on both sides, because it definitely isn't. And coming into our 40 home family, which has been there for 21 years, this is what we're going to see every day. I think that this board has an obligation in making a just and fair determination to really balance the prejudice to the neighborhood. Over the past 21 years, there has been a lot of expansion on 114. And we have been really tolerant of what that has done to our neighborhood, the adverse impact of all the traveling and the cut-throughs, the accidents that have increased because our neighborhood is being used as a cut-through. And there just comes a time when enough is enough. This beautiful structure is not necessary on this small parcel of land. This small parcel of land was never intended to house something like this. And I would just urge the board to think about the message that the board is sending to our 40-family residential community and the town at large in terms of preserving landscape, architecture, the way that our community looks, the community standards that we have, and most of all, the community values that we want to preserve within our town. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Caroline Castaldo, and I live at 85 Colonial Avenue. I am also a 21-year resident of the neighborhood, and my concerns are, I just think the proposed building is too big for the footprint of the land. I was concerned when I saw that they will get, I thought, when I heard it, I thought a single business hair salon sounded great. I was very concerned when I saw 2 separate storefronts, because to me that indicates it could be anything. If it was intended to be just a beauty use, which I have also been in that industry, it could be a day spa. Those things could be incorporated into the single business. The 2 separate storefronts indicate to me it could be anything. And if it's not an office building, I do believe the parking spaces, that changes. From what I've looked in the bylaws, I do believe that if it's a service or retail, that's, I think, 5 per 1,000 square feet, 5 spaces, I'm pretty sure. So we don't know if that's even going to be adequate parking. I'm concerned about the curb cuts. I think the curb cut, if we're facing the building on the left, is of definite concern to our neighborhood. As I think Alan pointed out, we're coming out, that curb cut is right there. How do you, that just doesn't work. And to not have 2 entrances into that structure probably would be a problem with the fire department. So I'm concerned about signage, lighting, dumpsters, all the things that go with a commercial building. I mean, we own a commercial building in a different city, and we have very strict regulations and would never be allowed to do something like this on such a small footprint. So I'm really concerned about that. I'm concerned about, us pulling out, it's just, to me, it's too big a footprint for such a small, such a small lot. And I think that, again, the variance and so forth are put in place for a reason, to protect the neighborhood. And we have, I do believe, been very tolerant. Our area has become extremely congested. We've graciously gone along with everything that's been put there. And I also think we have to keep in mind, there is a building across the street which used to house the Girl Scout office, which is now vacant. So that eventually is going to become developed, I'm sure. And now you've got even more traffic entering in this really small area. I encourage you all to drive it, and you'll all experience how congested that is getting. Thank you.
Hi, Judy Ferris, 31 Oxbow Circle.
Oxbow?
Oxbow, yep. So I guess I'm probably in the minority that I think the facade of this looks like a 7-Eleven to me. And while I understand that you need windows for that business, I would much prefer a structure that was more house-like and more fitting with the character of the house that the potential owner was talking about earlier. Because to me, what this does is change the character leading into our neighborhood. We have Prime gas station. That is, the setback of the building is 100 feet, so you can't really see it, and they're a fairly good neighbor. They do try to do their landscaping, but it is there. It is still a gas station, and so adding this kind of industrial, commercial type building continues with that gas station persona, and I think changes that character that we're trying to maintain on Colonial Ave. And I won't repeat the traffic issues. I also have comments on the parking. Somebody, I think, I don't remember who brought up the accessible spaces, but when you put in the accessible spaces, would there be 2 or just 1 required for this lot? Do you guys know? So let's just say, even if it's 1, it would have to be a van accessible lot, which would mean that would cut into one of these other spaces that they have outlined, and you'd have to find, assuming that the 13 spaces are sufficient for this. We've heard other people say that it may not be, but if the 13 spaces and you have to put the accessible space, it would have to be a van accessible space, which would cut into one of them, and they'd have to find space somewhere on the property for that 13th spot. So just one thing. And I'm also concerned with the fire, because if there's cars parked behind the building, I don't think a fire engine's going to be able to make that turn without hitting those cars. But that's for them to decide, but that's just another kind of concern that I have. And I also, I can't tell from this drawing, but if they want to build into the character, I think another thing that could be added is some sort of sidewalk that would connect Colonial over across the front of their building, and I can't see it on here. Maybe they have that plan, but again, I don't think the style of the structure is consistent with the makeup of our neighborhood, and I'm concerned that the number of spots isn't adequate, especially when you consider the accessible space that would need to be created. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so you've heard there's a lot of different points, some of which we can address, I think.
Did you want me to address any of their concerns?
In a sec. The curb cut issue, I know, relates to the state also in terms of what you're proposing. Some of that relates to the site plan review process. The Bay Area, the green area, is something that, I'm not sure how at play that is in terms of your dimensional size, in terms of what you're proposing, but, we've heard a lot of different things, so You can't, the one thing is I mean, the zoning is the zoning, in terms of your neighborhood is one particular zoning and this lot is another. So I don't know how we wrestle that particular point, because if it's not this structure, it's still zone general business, So they're all kind of mixed in that regard. So how do you guys want to proceed with that?
We're going to take into consideration all the comments the board and the public raised, and see if we can make some modifications that see if we're able to or not, and then come back at the next meeting with maybe a revised plan or the same plan. We'll discuss it.
So when you're doing that, I'd like something, I would like for you to take it to the fire department to see if they can get around there.
Okay.
I'd like you to review and take it back to the building inspector to look at the footnote too. I don't think you have parking in the back.
Okay.
I think you have to have a green according to our bylaw.
Where are you on the front setback? Were you requesting front setback relief?
Yeah, because it's 100 feet.
Yeah. So in terms of, I mean, I don't know how you want to look at this, but I mean, if there's issues with respect to the rear, maybe you want to consider pulling it forward. And I don't know.
Could I make a quick comment?
As soon as I'm done. As soon as I'm done talking. As soon as I'm done. So, for me, in terms of what I'm looking at, I mean, I'm looking at a proposal that is rather imperfect in terms of what you got. So that's just kind of how I see those things. Go ahead, sir.
I agree with you, Al, that this is an imperfect application. It may not be an imperfect concept, but there are certainly imperfections. One of the things that I just like to point out, there are lots of things for folks to disagree on, but there are just some facts that I think that we all need to kind of appreciate. The taking that Alan was talking about, the taking is, there's a 100-foot setback, right? You have to have a 100-foot setback. This lot is 91 feet deep. You cannot, the setback is here. So to suggest that there's no arithmetic, there's no proof that there's a taking that's occurring here is not something we can disagree on, frankly, because it just exists. We have a 91-foot depth and a 100-foot setback. It's impossible to build it. The other thing that I agree with Mr. Chair on is that we've got, it's commercially zoned. This is an imperfect application, okay? I'm not advocating for anything. It's a commercially zoned lot. And I'm going to take the applicant at its word. I would suggest folks in the gallery to confirm that there's stuff that we've seen for the first time tonight as well. Just like y'all in the gallery, this is the first time I've seen this. It's the first time I've seen those. So we're all walking into this equally unprepared. But nonetheless, I've had the benefit of looking at this through the meeting, and you guys have not. What this is illustrating is we were all talking about, but we weren't necessarily pointing at. I'm going to point at it to the extent that y'all can see. Here's the lot that's being talked about developed. AL Prime is over here. There's a lot, I assume, I'm going to expect that it's zoned commercial, the same as this. And then there's this green space that was referenced earlier. None of us knows who owns this. I don't know that it's necessarily relevant, but I would have every expectation that this is zoned commercial as well. So if the two wings are zoned commercial, that's where the discussion earlier was with the setbacks, whether it's the next additional 15 feet or not. Perhaps it's not necessarily even relevant because no matter what you do, you're going to need some level of relief because we're still in the takings territory. But nonetheless, I would still ask someone in the gallery if you have concerns on this one. I would love to know, frankly, what this lot is zoned. Is this a GB? I expect it is, but it would certainly be helpful to have that fleshed out.
Yes, it is.
And it's the person that put that old development that owns it, and it is GB, general business.
That's a helpful confirmation. Thank you.
We'll provide the zoning map at the next meeting.
The other thing that everybody is...
I think the dates of the zoning are relevant too in
Yes.
terms of how they all came to play and when they came to play at various town meetings.
And parking is going to remain an issue until it's not. I think that there's clearly some work to be done. What we see on the, you know, the rendering, not the rendering, the plan on the right is that it's, you've got a salon, which is a, you know, the service retail use, and then an office, 1,500 square feet. I'm frankly unclear on whether or not an esthetician or a manicure is retail or office.
So our goal, again, is to keep the whole building beauty-related, right? So that's about how much space you would need to have a manicurist work, an esthetician work, to have the whole building be a beauty-related industry. The only reason we separated it was because it would be obviously a lot more feasible for us as we're getting started. If we grow into it ourselves and we can't
And
get
that's
somebody...
not the issue that I'm
Right.
exploring. What I'm exploring is the use that's on that board is office. The uses that you are discussing sounds more
Sure,
retail
because
service.
I didn't know-
So those may have,
Right.
those different uses
May
likely
have
have a different impact on the
Sure,
parking count.
sure, I
That's
understand.
I certainly understand
understand.
the expansion, the expected, the hoped for, this, I mean, you don't want to put necessarily, you know, a pet shop next to your beauty
Oh,
shop. So
gosh,
I
no.
totally get it
Right,
that you want a synergy of a beauty salon, an esthetician,
Correct.
and
We would
manicure.
expect a
I
passive
totally
and
get it.
professional person to be there.
Are you doing
So-
2 or 3? Because I
Hold,
thought
hold,
on the
hold,
thing
hold,
that I
no, no,
saw
no,
was
there's
3
no-
businesses.
there's-
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Just, Dorota,
Sorry.
she's, go ahead.
Okay, and just to confirm also, since we were talking about the parking and the traffic, our business, having been here for 17 years in North Andover, and even before that, it's not a traffic-saturated business. Our clients come in one at a time, and they're in the salon for 1 to 2 hours at a time. So my husband and I work in the mornings, he works in the afternoon, so traffic and parking, just to keep everybody in the loop so they can understand, really, it's not the nature of this business. We're just not, parking's not going to be an issue because they come and go. One person comes for a couple hours and the other person leaves. So
Yeah,
I
we
would,
get that, but parking is an issue with respect to proposed uses.
Sure.
So however a project is permitted, you know, you identify the use, if it's allowed in the zoning, and then
Right.
the parking layout is according to that.
Right.
So, you know, that parking is something that, you know, we have to consider.
Sure.
In terms of,
Right.
you know, there's all different ways to look at that, and Mr. Christensen certainly knows how to do it, so.
Are you and your husband the only ones that work?
So,
I guess a question
we
that
have one other part-time girl.
So it's
Two of
possible
us.
that there's 2 people there. I guess I raise the question because I question why you need so much space for a salon if at any point in time you have at max 2 chairs.
So you can't have a max of 2 chairs because in a salon that my husband and I work, we have 4 chairs, and you need the space because you need so many feet from your chair to the mirror, you need so many feet behind them, so you actually need a lot of space. And then you need your sinks, and then you need your back bar, then you need your products, then you need your kitchen. So you actually do need a lot of space for something that looks like, oh, it's just a small business, oh, it's just you and your husband. But you actually need the space because you can't have everybody on top of each other. They need to be comfortable, and you need to have so many feet, you know, around your working station and your color station where you're applying colors and so forth.
Just to make sure that there's no misunderstanding, 2,700 square feet is the gross building. The salon that we're talking about is only 1,200 square feet. That's a 2-bedroom apartment.
Right.
How big's the space you're in now?
I'm sorry?
How big's the space you're in now?
About 750, and that's why the other 2, we did them that way. Originally, somebody had made one. We've talked about this. We just wanted to come here and see if we were able to make this go ahead because we have a due diligence on the P&S, and that's why we were trying to get it all together. We tried to figure what is the minimal amount of space or maximum amount of space you could use. And in speaking with my esthetician, who again rents her own space, who had talked to me about coming, that's about how much space she would need. It's about 750 square feet. It's just her and her partner, and they do the same thing. She comes in certain days, and her partner comes in other days. So that's why we did them 750, because we figured it would be just enough space to accommodate an esthetician, and the same thing with a manicurist when I spoke to her. So we just thought it would make it easier as far as that goes. We put office there, and I apologize, that's what we did, but we just thought it was a terminology thing, so didn't mean to confuse anybody or or scare anybody for that matter, because we want everybody to welcome the salon. We want the neighborhood to want something there. We didn't mean to, scare anybody with that whole office thing there, because we're not interested in doing anything else. We really have no interest in doing a food industry or anything that would cause traffic. We've been already in North Andover for this long. That's...
Okay. Mr. Chairman, just for your clarification, if, we move along and you issue, the board votes to grant a variance, wouldn't there be restrictions as to the type of use within that variance or not? Because the neighbors are concerned about that, whether it could become a Dunkin' Donuts later on.
Oh, it's not.
I don't know.
Well, I know, but
I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head. I mean, whether or not, first of all, I don't know if someone would remove it as part of an application, but more importantly, if you have uses that are allowed by the bylaw, whether or not we could effectively preempt that in the form of a motion, I'm not sure. That might be a town council. That would probably go to town council. My understanding is, for example, we can't, some boards are comprised, but this board is not comprised to issue use variances. So we're usually constrained by the uses that are allowed by the bylaw.
Whatever use is allowed in that zoning district.
Yeah.
But they would be constrained by the number of parking spaces as to what they could do in the future.
Right. So to answer your question in that way, if something were allowed with a certain number of parking spaces in a particular use, if someone was going to go in and change that use, the new application at some time in the future, that could trigger a new application to come in if it requires more spaces, but not necessarily if it required less.
We're also closed too on Sundays and Mondays and Tuesday morning, just so you know the nature of this business.
Yeah, no, I get it. Did you want to say something, ma'am, before?
No, thank you.
Oh.
I was confused. I mean, I thought it was 1,500 square feet.
Yeah, okay.
And it's two.
Yeah, and then, so there's a lot of issues that have come up, and notwithstanding the lighting and that green area and different things, so.
So did you look at purchasing the 2 empty lots next to it and making it bigger?
They're not for sale. You can't. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you're dealing with what you have under agreement.
Right,
So that's
right.
fine.
And like I said, we do have a due diligence on the property, so we did try to
So that, no? Just because they're not for sale, you didn't approach the owners who owned it? No.
What happened with that, Nick, with those 2? We can't, they're not for sale. They wouldn't sell if they
We're
wouldn't.
not-
Well, the one to the left, which is operating by your street, that is.
All right, this is beyond the scope of what I want to.
I have a question that I wanted to know.
Yeah, but
I'm
they're all-
sorry, I don't know.
No, we're not-
Okay,
we're
so
not
no, you
gonna-
didn't. Okay.
I knew we did, but we could not
Okay.
do
Honestly, I
it.
don't know how it's relevant. to
I
you.
had because I asked a question and they were answering it. It was relevant to me.
They're all answering in the back, and we're
She's
trying to
asking her
limit-
husband.
Yeah, I understand that, Ellen, but whether or not someone wants to buy adjoining property isn't relevant to what's before us.
It is for me.
Hi. How are you? Yeah, could just come up to the podium. Could you, if you guys are gonna, just come up, because we have to get to another petition too, right?
Yes.
We have another petition.
My name is Vanessa Robinson. I live at 43 Oxbow Circle.
Okay.
And I just want to point out, I haven't done the due diligence on that tiny lot, but it is a sliver of land. There's no way it's buildable. And it is, for a long time, I've been in the neighborhood for...
Is this the adjoining lot that they're talking about?
Yeah, the little one to the left.
Okay.
And it's, it's Colonial Avenue, then this tiny strip, and then their lot.
Yep.
I believe, and again, I haven't confirmed this, that it is owned by Cormier Construction Company that built the development, and it had the sign for the development there, Woodland Estates forever, and then it fell over in a snowstorm. So my understanding is it belongs to the development.
Okay.
Okay, just for clarification.
Thank you.
But it is a general business.
Thank you. Okay,
So the town can take that lot too.
Well, it already has. I mean, it's.
You take what lot?
By,
Next to it.
There's been
so-
no taking, nobody's taking,
Right.
there's been no,
Correct.
there's just zoning,
saying.
there's just zoning bylaws that regulate how you use it. There's no taking. That's a position that was advocated by the applicant to suggest that if they can't do what they want to do, it is effectively a taking, but there's no decree with which that says. You know, that there's a permitting application that we're going through. That's all. Right?
We continue?
If you want to, yeah.
Do we need a motion?
I haven't heard from anybody else on the board in terms of they want to continue it to the next meeting and come back? You're right.
I make a motion, we continue it till the next meeting.
I'll second that, Alan.
May 8th.
Motion is
Is
second.
that good for everybody?
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
Is it-
I'm sorry. Can I just go ask my husband one question before we finish up?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We'll be really fast.
We'll stand adjourned for a minute. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
We're back
I know
on.
it's late. Okay.
The
The answer is?
I apologize. You want to continue? Okay. So there was a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
the meeting is back in session, folks. The meeting is back in session. Thank you.
All right.
What is the date?
May 8th.
May 8th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it stands continued.
Thank you.
The form you could sign maybe with.
This is pretty big, too.
Okay. Interesting stuff.
Shall I prattle on over the transition just to make this go?
I would, yeah, I'm going to give this to Valerie, but I would definitely.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at Town Hall located at 120 Main Street, North Andover, Massachusetts, on Tuesday, March 13th, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. Excuse me, folks. Excuse me, folks. Thank you. At 7:30 p.m. to all parties interested in the petition of Sirius Development LLC for property 562 Boxford Street, map 105.C, parcel 003, North Andover, Mass. 01845 in the R1 zoning district. The petitioner is requesting variances from Table 1 Summary of Use Regulations to construct a new single-family home. Zoning bylaw section 4.121 lot area required 87,120 feet, proposed 56,652 feet. Relief needed 30,468 feet. Zoning bylaw section yards, left side setback required 30 feet, proposed 16.5 feet, relief needed 13.5 feet. Application and supporting materials are available for review at the Office of the Zoning Department located at 120 Main Street, North Andover, Massachusetts, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from the hours of 8 to 4, Tuesday from the hours of 8 to 5:30, and Friday from 8 to 11:30. By order of the Board of Appeals, Albert P. Manzi III, Esquire, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. This is, let's get this started. Okay, so this is the Cyrus Development, right? Mr. Christensen, are you representing?
Yes.
You're handling this tonight for them? Okay. So we've opened your hearing.
Okay, for the record, Philip Christensen, representing the applicant. This is a property located on Boxford Street. It's a new subdivision. Well, it's way over here. Duncan Drive is down here. There's an existing house on the lot, but there's also wetlands. There's a lot of wetlands on the property. This wetlands is right here. The existing house is closer than 50 feet to the wetlands. There's also a vernal pool in the wetlands. The town of North Andover has requirements that you're supposed to be 75 feet from the vernal pool. Actually, the vernal pool is up in here, but there's also a septic system approximately in this location where the existing house is. So, and it's an existing lot, a non-conforming in area. So there's an existing house on it which is too close to the wetland. It's an old house, and the developer wanted to tear the house down and build a new house. But in order to meet the 50-foot setback requirements for no build, he has to move towards the lot line. And there's a 30-foot lot line setback requirement, and he can only, with the house he's proposing, only get 16 feet away from that. He also has to file with the Board of Health because the septic system setbacks require 100 feet. We can only get 50 feet from the wetlands for a septic system. There's a hearing tomorrow on that. And we'll have to go to conservation, obviously, to build because we're within 100 feet of the wetlands. So what's requested tonight is a variance from a sideline setback from 30 to 16 and a half in order to comply with the requirements of the Conservation Commission.
Don't you need lot area setback relief as well?
And lot relief as well, right?
Okay.
But the
So-
lot, I mean, it's an existing lot, there's nothing I can do
But
about
you're tearing
that.
it down, and you're not, you're changing the conformity of the lot, so.
Right, right.
So you need, you put in a variance for that as well? Or is it
Yes,
just
there's a
site?
table at the top shows you the setbacks, you know, the
I just want to
requirements.
make sure you,
Yeah, the lot is 59,000, it's still going to be 59,000. In any case, 175 requirement, we got 220 feet of frontage, building height, we meet, front setback, we meet, side setback, we don't meet, and the rear setback doesn't really matter, it's well over 100 feet. So it's that side setback, the area, we're not changing.
so where's the existing house on that now?
Uh,
I usually like to see it on the,
Yeah, I've got a sketch for you of that.
But we don't have a plan in terms of, for the proposed dwelling, right, tonight?
yeah, that's on.
Yeah, there is a plan for the
But it
proposed
doesn't
dwelling.
show the existing.
I bet you.
Existing dwelling is right here.
So why didn't we get this?
Why didn't you get that?
Yeah, yeah. Because we need to gas?
As I said, ordinarily, you would get my full septic system plan, but we were told we need to use this format, so. There's a lot of details on the other one in terms of septic system location.
We need two.
So I'm confused. Didn't we already approve this?
No. We approved the one next to it.
Right? You may have approved a lot.
2015?
I'm looking at an approval in here.
Yeah, what happened was this lot was originally way out here, and then it was reconfigured for the owner to be here. This is when Messina had the development, so there's two houses over here now. But we took this strip here and made this more of a uniform lot than it had been.
I'd like to see the original variance that we did, because now,
You see what I'm talking about, Paul? Do you see? This is my lot. Right, so we approved this. So this is something that was already approved, and then you guys changed, so somebody changed the lot lines. Is that what I'm hearing? The lot lines changed?
We changed the lot lines a few years ago.
after the variance was approved, after it was approved from here?
No, I think,
If you could give us some history on it, that'd be great.
sure.
Okay.
As I said,
Just help us along.
this plan that you've got here, right? The original, the woman who lived here
Yeah.
had this property, followed that shape,
Oh.
okay? Had an odd-shaped lot. So when Messina was developing over here, this was Joyce Bradshaw's property.
Yep.
So when Joyce was selling it, she owned land here
Yep.
and over here.
Yeah,
So
okay.
there's an arrangement made to make this lot more uniform in shape. Get rid of this piece, give this piece to Joyce, and Joyce's land back here, give to this lot so it's more uniform.
So you created your own hardship.
No, because the house is in the same place.
Now, by tearing it down, you're creating your own hardship by
By
changing.
tearing it down, yeah.
Yes.
But it's too close to the wetlands. You got conservation saying you can't build within 50.
But you changed the lot lines, which created that hardship by
So, yeah.
Well,
What's happening tomorrow night? Board of Health is tomorrow night?
Board of Health is tomorrow.
What are they doing?
They have to give a variance for a septic system within 50 feet of the wetland, rather than 100 feet.
So we should really be looking at this next month after you're done with Board of Health, right?
It's,
In theory?
I
Because that's
just never
gonna-
know who comes first. I got Conservation, Board of Appeals. and-
Well, I mean, if, you know, if
But
they're,
we filed with all of them.
if Board of Health is handling that, that seems to be something that's gonna be rather definitive
Yeah,
in terms of what you're doing.
right.
So my thought is, after that, you know, have that meeting, and then we'll look at this. at our
Okay,
next
well, that
meeting.
meeting's tomorrow.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
really, you know, I don't want to get ahead of that, because that drives the whole thing.
And
Unless
then, I
there's sewer,
think
right?
Conservation meet next week. I know we're on their agenda for the next meeting. I don't know if that's,
How big is this structure? Because this is looking awfully big.
I think it's typical house, maybe 40 feet by 30 feet with a two-car garage on it.
What's that in square feet, Eric?
1,200 first floor,
This is typical?
Total.
2,400?
2,400. Unless they build over the garage, then they add another 600 feet.
Is this the final, is this the
That's-
final plan?
That's
or
what the owner has provided to me.
does he
That's not
have,
a 2,400 square foot house.
does he have other designs that might fit more in the neighborhood,
You think?
in terms of,
That's kind of the neighborhood.
It's bigger than mine.
is it? Is it the neighborhood?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wellington? This is the Wellington neighborhood?
Yeah, and you'll see two houses built to the left of this lot. It'll look pretty much like that.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
I
make,
think they might be garage unders if I think about it.
I'll make a point of going over and looking at it. But I mean, practically, realistically, I think if they're setting a septic system at Board of Health, I would think that that's gotta come first. You know, in terms of, because what if, you know, what if this board were to go along and set something for you that then Board of Health didn't work for them? And then, because the septic system is really driving,
Well, septic system is critical, and right now it doesn't conform to anything.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
basically not a system. Just a-
I would think you gotta start there. But-
All right, well, it's been,
Last time for us to get where the house currently is now versus where you want it,
all right.
what Ellen always loves, which I agree with.
That's just my, that's just my thought.
That's proposed.
Did you want to be heard, sir?
Well,
Sir?
that's- I just gave you that tonight, though, Paul.
Oh.
Did you want to be heard? Are you here?
Ms. Jacobs has it.
The abutter,
Okay, would you like to be heard tonight?
sure.
Yeah.
You sent the letter? Okay.
Your letter?
My wife sent the letter last week.
You're the one with the 16-foot,
Yes, 16-foot setback that we would rather not, or we'd rather keep at least 30-foot. So we live at 550 Boxford Street.
Okay.
And I don't know, I can give you the copy of this. I don't know if you have this. This might help.
Can you say your name, too?
Jim Santiani.
Jim, okay.
That's kind of the whole area, what happened over the last few years. We bought about 2 years ago. So we have that lot 2, that triangular lot that's in the middle there.
Help me out.
So we're
Oh, on Boxwood Street.
on
triangle
Boxford
lot.
Street.
Okay.
So the existing house has been there for about 50 years that he's talking about. It's now vacant. I'm all for someone building a nice new house. I think it'll add aesthetically to the street and value to the neighborhood, no doubt. That house has probably reached its end of life. But it looks like the plans are to take it from where it exists to move it way left or very close to our lot line. So we are opposed of the 16-foot setback versus 30-foot setback on the left side.
Yeah, the encroachment towards you.
Right, right.
but do you understand why they want to do that?
Yeah, to conform, well, yeah, to conform to the wetlands on the other side.
So you understand that if they don't do that, they can't build a house?
Well, they can go smaller, or, I mean, is there any possibility of getting the 15 feet on the other side?
It's the wetlands and the septic system.
Well, that's what we
But
don't know.
that's what they're gonna have to deal with anyway, you know?
So that's sort of, kind of to your point, I don't know, or we don't know what those constraints are yet, because those hearings haven't really
Right,
occurred in
right.
terms of your bordering vegetative wetland line. I don't know where that is, and I don't know where the septic system is.
But there was also a house there.
You have a line on this
existing
plan?
now.
The other thought is, can they utilize the existing foundation and just go up?
Yeah. Okay. Well, they can address that.
Yeah, sure. Because the way it sits now is kind of perfect. It's kind of in the middle of the lot, their lot, and they're looking to kick it way left and forward toward the street, obviously. But obviously, those lots have been compromised by the National Heritage for the turtle area. So we actually lost half of our lot, or, we...
To the turtles?
To the
To
turtles.
turtles. So the turtles own half, and we own half right now.
I hope they pay part of the property.
Yeah.
They're paying their rent? Okay.
So originally 2-acre lot, 1 acre is non-usable, and it's been signed, the signage has gone up and that type of thing for National Heritage turtles.
Okay.
So that was my 2 cents.
Do you know Mr. Christensen? Have you guys met
No,
before?
we've never met.
We did.
We did?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did one time.
Jim Santiago.
Yeah,
So-
I think I met with your builder
Oh,
one day.
Bill Lombard,
And we were walking around.
when he was doing
Yeah,
those 2 lots.
So, your issues, we'll let Mr. Christensen address in terms of there is a BVW line, I stand corrected, so I don't know whether or not they can pull it over and meet your 30 feet setback or not. I'll have to see what their
Yeah, I mean,
feeling on
if
that
the-
is.
If the owner were willing to build on the old foundation, I don't think conservation could prevent them from doing that, but any additions to the house would have to be 50 feet away. But what the owner tells me is that he can't do anything with the house, it's just,
It's a tiny little house.
Tiny little house,
Tiny little house. I drove by, it's a little postage stamp house.
right.
right.
Can you turn the house around sideways?
This one, and again, just with respect to the neighborhood, and, I recognize that 16 is not 30 feet, but you turn it sideways, now it looks silly, doesn't it? You have all the other houses parallel to the street, now you come in and you build kind of an oddball house to conform to zoning.
Yeah, an oddball lot, so.
But I don't know what
It
this
is, but I'm
distance is,
saying,
Phil.
just in
Yeah.
terms of the neighborhood and the value, it's probably more valuable to build it like a normal house. It is an option, but it's not an option that I think is
Yeah.
really beneficial to the neighborhood.
I think when
What's
those
better
lo-
is to move it closer to the wetlands, but we can't.
When that lot was divided, I think they kind of cut themselves into a corner on that one, because they chopped up that lot to make the 2 lots that myself and my neighbor are in right now.
Yep.
So that lot got smaller, obviously. But I've never seen anything wet there. I've been there 2 years, and there's nothing, no puddles, no water. Really?
You didn't dig in these wetlands and find sand down 50 feet.
Yeah.
But it is a wetland, so.
Well, I don't know from looking at this whether you have any wiggle room or not on the wetland side, because
No, you don't.
you got 164 feet to the back lot line, but in terms of your BVW, I don't know where you are.
Well, yeah, we've got the septic systems up behind the house. See where the lot area is? It's up in that is where the septic system.
It looks like you might be able to get a little closer on the right side.
Yeah, that's where, now that you straightened me out on the 11 by 17 plans, I'll give you the plan for the next meeting that's got the septic system and everything on it, so you get a full view of the whole property.
Yeah, no one's ever hesitated to give us paper, so
It was just-
Apparently it's been an issue lately, so
well,
I should,
Yeah.
well, hopefully we square that all away.
Yeah, it's much
Right.
easier for me.
Yep.
Because I know there's a petition outstanding for building on the opposite side of my house, closer to Duncan. Those 3 lots getting turned into 2, and hopefully building 2 houses there.
That was a couple months ago, right?
500 Boxer Street, yeah.
Okay.
So I think putting new houses where those existing houses are will definitely help. I'm all for that. Taking down some of the scrub trees that have the potential to fall on the power lines is a good thing. But my wife and I's biggest concern is obviously the left side setback.
Okay.
So you could, I mean, there's options to the design of the home to make it a little smaller, to make it a little less than, you know, the 16, to meet, kind of meet 30. Is it 30 or 35? 30. To meet the 30, or closer to the 30. Having a garage under, like all the other houses in the neighborhood, you don't have to have the attached.
That particular lot is relatively flat. So the garage under doesn't work unless you build it up.
Yeah, there's a lot of constraints here, so see what's.
I mean, you could put the garage behind the house and have it kind of an L-shaped house like that. It's a little odd, but.
There's design options that could be played with instead of having, this is our design. If you could explore those, that'd be great.
Well, you gotta get through tomorrow. You gotta get through tomorrow's meeting.
Okay.
And you gotta see where that is, right? Because that's really your most definable.
It is, it's the most critical one. I think conservation's on board with it, so.
Okay.
Continue it.
Are you okay with
Continue
that?
this?
What's that?
I said, you want to continue this?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You're okay with
To
that?
May
right?
8th?
May 8th is
I
good.
make a motion, we continue this to May 8th.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, May 8th.
I'll make a motion to sip on the
Oh, my God. Has she stopped crying the blues all night?
No.
You're not gonna get much sympathy from us.
Where's the agenda?
You guys don't remember what it's like.
No,
You're
we're in,
too far out.
we're in the
He's
trenches.
the only one.
We're in the trenches.
And I'm sure his wife would complain as much as I do.
By the way, you never forget.
I don't believe that for a second.
And I don't complain.
All right,
Except for all night tonight.
all right.
It's
Okay.
NCIS.
10:25.
Excuse me, we still have it, we're still in a meeting.
Are we?
We're in transition.
We're in transition.
Madam Clerk, Vice Chair.
We're in transition again. We're in a transition.
No one's made the motion to adjourn?
No, we have unfinished business. I don't know how.
I can't make that motion.
No, we have unfinished business. We have mass housing letter dated February 27th. You can read it. And we have board elections to finish from January, which I don't know how they're not done, but they need to get done.
What is this?
Yeah, that's where we are. That is a certificate of good standing to show that that entity is in good standing. So, that's where we are, regular members. We have to finish our board elections, and then we can be adjourned.
Okay, so I'll bring it up since no one will.
No, we have two motions on the floor.
So the motions on the floor for
We have two motions from January.
chair were either Paul or Al
Yes.
for chair. And I think we should just bring it to a vote.
I'll make a motion to include all members in the vote. So I don't see any reason why the associate members shouldn't be voting on the officers for the zoning board.
I was always a firm component on that, so I agree with that.
Is that a second?
It is a second.
Well, we know there are three motions on, so.
So I think the third motion depends on the
Hold on a
vote.
second, you guys are procedurally out of order. You know, I'd like to be heard on that.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So procedurally, usually I think just the regular members should be voting with respect to the offices.
Why would you say that? Because it says the board, and the board is comprised of 5 regular members, 2 associate members.
Yeah, the associate members typically fill in when the regular members are not available.
But they're comprised of the board, so the board is to make the decision of, I mean, we could argue this until we're both blue,
Is there
because
a
I've
rule?
always.
What's the rule?
What has been done in the past?
It depends on the chair.
I mean,
I've always liked to have the whole board included.
Okay, you've always liked to have, but what
Yes.
has been done in the past? Has it
Both.
been 5 or 7? Both.
Both.
It's been a mix?
It hasn't been consistent.
Nothing has been consistent?
Correct.
I don't know what's going to happen.
So, if it hasn't been consistent,
Well, prior, there's no one who's ever wanted to be chair.
yeah, but notwithstanding that question, the question is, has it always been open for the 5 members or for the 7 members? And you're
Five
saying
members.
that has been inconsistent?
No, my recollection is the 5 members, the board is comprised of 5 regular members. The associates are just that. They fill in when the 5 regular members are not available.
But I
They're
thought
associate positions.
the board is comprised of 5 regular members and 2 associate members.
Technically,
So-
we have 3 associates when we have a full board.
Correct.
All right.
Or 3, if there was another
We are
associate. I
we're a
would-
5-person board.
Excuse me, can I point out what I think is a logical inconsistency with that? In the vote on the Meadow, whatever it is, property consoling, we counted, even though we didn't vote, because we were counted in a majority.
No, I count 5.
You counted 5, but it had to win by a simple majority. So the fact that it was 3-2, of 5 votes, that's a simple majority.
No, that's
Of
not
7
true,
votes,
sir.
it's not.
No, no, no. We're a 5-person board,
Right,
so I count the 5 regular members.
right.
And it takes 4 to be approved. With respect, you're talking about the special permit of the variance.
Right, I thought you said simple majority.
No,
Okay,
it's a
my mistake.
super majority with
Okay,
respect
my
to.
mistake.
That's why we're a 5-person board. So we could have a quorum with respect to 4. But the applicant would have an opportunity to
No,
go
my
forward.
my mistake, my mistake in the majority.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
What's it
just,
say?
the alternate positions fill in when the regular members are not available.
Are they appointed?
Yeah.
So associate members are appointed.
Yeah, we have a term just like.
Yeah. We've all been associates, we're all there.
Ouch.
Some longer than
Wow.
others. Some longer than
Some
others.
longer than
Okay.
others.
We're all there. Some longer than
I know.
others. But that's how it goes.
So where's the definition? I know I have it somewhere, so you have it right there. You have the,
I have it.
you have
What are you
that
looking for the
little.
definition of the law on
Of the
this?
board, yeah.
All right.
I can't,
I don't know where that is.
I buy our, I know I have it. You have it right there.
What is it you want me to find?
What's it called? What's that called?
These are our rules and
Our
regulations.
rules and regulation tells us what the board's comprised of. And I'm going to interpret it, the board's comprised of everyone.
I know, you've made that very clear.
I say it every
You said
year.
it, you want to say it again?
I say it every year, and it goes on deaf ears. I wish I could find it.
I'm gonna go with the chairman of the board has the prerogative to.
Oh, there
He's
it
the
is.
chairman, he has the right to do. This is one of the perks of being the chair. That's the way I see it.
Vote of the 5 of you?
Correct. I think that would be the best, taking the vote for the 5 of us, to see if you two can vote.
I mean,
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
trying to keep you down, associates, that's all.
do you want me to just get on the floor while we're at it?
I mean, that's the way it
Easier to
works. I
catch.
mean,
Shall we excuse the associates then from the
I mean,
discussion?
I'm not trying to be, condescending, it's just, that's the way it is.
I'm interested in where it's written.
Well, you can't find out where it's not written either then. Okay, so if you
Well,
can't
the
find where
board-
it's written, you can't find where it's not written.
Our decisions
So
are.
let's move this along.
Our decisions are issued by a 5-person regular board. That is what we are.
But are there restrictions on the way that the board organizes, Mr. Chair? You've made it over and over again. You've said to
don't
me, in
see
fact,
any.
this January, this past January, said there aren't any restrictions
What
on the
have
way
I,
the board
what have I,
organizes
what
itself.
have I said?
When I raised the issue that the appointing authority has suggested to all boards that the chairs be rotated in some way.
Appointing authority can make whatever suggestions they
Yeah.
want. They can also not renew our appointments if they want.
Absolutely.
They're elected, we're appointed.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's,
But your response to me was there are no restrictions on the way the board organizes itself. That's the only reason that I raised
The
that
board shall
issue.
organize by majority
And
vote of
absolutely, we-
chairperson, vice chair, and clerk.
We will learn. If we're incapable of moving the leadership positions around, Mr. Chair, then everybody will face the appointing authority, and we will discover exactly how much weight, how seriously they take the suggestions that they make.
that's right. We face them all every 3 years, to the extent we want to be reappointed.
Are we done with these arguments for or against?
So I think as 5 members should take a vote to see if it should be everyone or just,
Well, Mr. Chair has to entertain the motion. Just because the motion's been made and seconded does not mean
I'm
that a vote has
I'm
been.
confused as to which motion you want to hear first.
I would like to know who's voting first.
We're a five-person board. I would imagine it'd be Alan, you, me, Paul, and Nathaniel.
And I made a motion to include all members of the board in the vote for the leadership positions. Ellen seconded it.
Which would include the two associates.
Correct.
I see, okay.
So now it's up to the chair to whether or not he
For
will
the five people to
entertain
vote on
the
that motion. Okay? So,
That's one of the prerogatives of being the chair.
You want me to hear that motion, whether we should extend the board's role to vote more than the regular members? Is that what you're saying?
and she seconded the motion.
Okay,
Okay, I get it. My answer, no.
fine. You want to hear that? You want me to call that vote?
Sure.
No.
All right.
Yes?
Yes?
Yes.
No. Okay, so that goes 3-2.
So that goes 3-2.
Yep.
Okay, so now we're back to 5 members voting.
Okay?
We are?
It's majority.
3-2 is majority.
Don't,
There were 3 yeses.
I thought
Were there
you-
not?
I thought you needed the
yeses?
supermajorities.
For variance and special permits.
No, I don't
The
think
same
we-
rules apply here?
No, I don't think the same rules would apply.
Okay, then.
I think it'd be a
then-
simple majority.
So, then, that's the case, it's 3-2, that they're included. All right, so let's move it along.
Okay, so move along. What do you want to move along?
You know what, I think we should do chair, just say who we want, Al or Paul.
So why don't we move Paul along first?
Okay?
Probably should see us in Greece right now.
Do you want us to start on that end?
It doesn't matter to me. I'll step up.
Okay.
So this is the vote for the chair.
Yep.
All right, so I will preface this by saying that when we discussed this last time, I asked 2 questions, one of basically of Al and one of Paul. And my question to Al was, why does it matter? And Al's answer was, in the end, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I was wrong on simple versus supermajority, in the end, we're here to serve was basically kind of what I got.
Yeah.
And I asked kind of Paul the same question, and Paul's response was, it's good to move these things around because it helps keep us engaged and develops the leadership of the board. Again, paraphrasing.
Fair enough.
Okay. So given those 2 answers, then I would vote for Paul, and I would switch the chairmanship for those reasons.
Me? My vote is strictly Paul, geography. Strictly, I've had to go into Boston several times in the last couple of months, okay? It's a nightmare getting in and out of Boston, a nightmare. Strictly for the geography, I don't see how it would be accessible for you. I, too, am a firm proponent of term limits when they can apply, but I just don't see how you could do a geography. I just don't see how you could get back and forth from Boston. Hence, my vote is for Al.
Well, so you're just voting for Paul at the moment, just it's either a yes or a no?
Oh, for Paul, then the answer's no.
Not to be difficult.
I'm going to go yes.
Yeah? Okay, Alexandria?
I think switching it up is a good idea.
Yep.
So I go for Paul.
No.
No? Paul, you want to vote for yourself?
I will. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, I think I will just abstain, and I will congratulate you on being the new chairman.
Thank you, Al.
Appreciate that.
Oh, okay, never mind. I'll shut up for now.
Right? So the chairmanship is done. So you can now run the vice chair and the secretary votes.
Oh, it's immediate?
Yeah,
I think so.
I guess I have to, is there a motion?
No. This has been going on since January, so.
So there's no motion?
I don't know why you guys
there's-
didn't do it in February, to be honest with you.
You weren't.
March
Yeah,
was
you
canceled.
weren't here.
You weren't here.
Didn't appear seemly to have a vote without you present.
Okay.
So I don't know that we have a motion on the floor for vice chair or clerk. So-
I don't think we do either.
So is there a motion? Is there
I make a
a
motion,
statement?
we appoint the person next to me
I don't have a name.
I couldn't think of you then.
It's Ellen. They've been
Just
calling
like
you and me
Alan.
the whole
And
night.
just like Alan,
The whole
Ellen.
night.
I make a motion to appoint Ellen to be vice chair.
Do we have to vote
So-
on whether?
Someone has
we
to
can
second
vote on
it.
So
that?
is there a second?
Or is it, well, I would second that if my second counts.
It does. We already counted that it was.
I didn't know if that was just for one vote or all votes.
No.
So I
Well,
would
that's an
second.
interesting point.
I'm sorry, I raised it.
The way I heard the motion was for all votes.
For all the leadership positions, yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Yes.
Okay, second.
All right, then
Is this
we should
something-
probably pocket in case there's another. Is there anyone else like to make a motion for vice chair? Seeing and hearing none, I'll take a roll call for, a vote for Ellen as vice chair.
Aye.
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 I'm going to abstain. Aye.
Are you saying aye because you want it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then aye.
And it's too late anyway, she had enough.
I mean, I needed to feel important. Thank you.
All right.
My vote needs to count.
It
All right.
does.
I think we started that in for the next one.
So voted. And now for clerk, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Al.
I'll second. Any discussion on that motion? Any sister or additional motions? Anyone else interested? Seeing and hearing none. Motion made and seconded. Alexandria, this is for Al as
Yes.
clerk.
Yes.
I'll
You'll
abstain.
Aye.
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 No. So voted.
Okay, there we go.
And now it's
Buckle in.
done. And
I'll
now,
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
made and seconded, motion stands adjourned.